All right, what is up? We are live. We are back on a Tuesday night, just a couple of days before Thanksgiving. Oh, Jack, can we already taste the turkey? Hey, yo, I don't have to pause this right away, but make no mistake, we're just counting the days. It is what it is. But we do have a little basketball night, of course, to keep us entertained. And I got to say, basketball night, keep it, of course, inclusive for NBA and college, because I guess there is that as well, too. We have to, the fact that I guess it proves for us that we are still getting accustomed to the college basketball schedule being on as part of the mix as well, too. And just thinking about it as a go-to thing. And, I guess we're just talking about us personally as well, too. It is what it is. But it is a fun time in the college basketball season as well, too. I guess we should mention that Michigan, of course, are on, I guess, at the moment. I didn't even realize that because, again, like I'm saying, I'm not even checking the schedule at this point to see what's going on. But I threw on the ESPN, and I'm like, wait a second. Whoa, the night has been made. We got the Wolverines playing. We don't have the game on in the background right now because there is only 2 NBA games on at the moment. We are deciding, I guess, to just commit there and run both of them. So I guess we'll keep an eye on Michigan in the background here and the live stream just for personal reasons. It is what it is. But right now on screen for us anyways, in the background, we do have the Magic versus the Sixers, and the Wizards are just taking it to the Hawks right now. Hey, yo. I don't know, Wizards fans getting something to be thankful for right before, I don't know if you get of course, Thanksgiving break. I guess Thanksgiving day off for the NBA. It is what it is. But anyways, this might be the best game for them in since the Wall and Beal era. Honestly, it's currently, I guess, maybe we have to pull up that score just for journalistic standards sake anyways, at least in the score bar here. Yeah, 83-113 with 10.5 left in the fourth quarter. Hey, yo. So we might have to legitimately go back and see what the biggest margin of victory they have had over the last couple of years has been, because make no mistake, hey, yo, they've won some games. We can't doubt them at that point. It is what it is. They've, of course, had a couple of, every now and then, they'll find themselves scoring more points than the other team. It just happens. It's just the math of how this works. Oh, wait a second. Basketball reference glitching. Okay, we'll fix it here. We've got it. I mean, I guess it has happened fewer times this year than it has before. Make no mistake. This is crazy, chat. Hey, yo. A 0.63 win percentage? We're 16 games in. I'm assuming they'll go on a win streak at some point, 3 or 4 games. Maybe we check that and see what their biggest win streak is at this point as well, too. In 85, and we were looking, I guess we can look right now as well, too. Defensive rating for the Wizards is at 124.7. So I guess here, just for this year as well, too, we can double check, is there one win by any chance by more than 30? Are they when they catch fire, boy, do they catch fire, AO. But, yeah, they're giving up 100. I know we were looking at this stat as well, too, but make no mistake, it hasn't changed. I guess this game will be the one to finally maybe, pause, move those stats around a little bit. But giving up 130 a game, and you're at 85 going into the fourth quarter here is, for Atlanta, is pretty, tough offensive day, as we've continued to, of course, highlight their offensive struggles without Trae Young. And the more stats that we could, I guess, be looking up. Hey, yo, Chad, do we need to be doing more research at the NBA while we're working at the restaurant? Maybe we do. I don't know. We'll get the iPads fired back up. It is what it is. But, we could, because I feel like, of course, Atlanta has been one of those teams, a little like Memphis with Ja Morant. And I think Memphis, we're still talking in a little bit of a hypothetical, old school Memphis sort of way, but just as a model of what a team, I guess what a team was, but, as a model of a team without a superstar, of course, they were able to, and, for whatever reason it may have been, even if it was just, Ja tweaks an ankle every now and then, they were still able to maintain those wins without him and have good performances, good depth on the roster. Atlanta has good depth on the roster. They are a team that you would assume is able to have that functionality without Trae Young. But like we said, they really miss his point guard skills. So shout out. And I guess we could try to remember as well, too, who their point guards have been in the past. I guess they have had Bogdanovich. He is on the Clippers. Hey, yo, chat, we're old man now. It's like, wait a second. Where are all these guys? It is what it is. But, you only really remember the games that you're watching at the moment. That's why they make pen and paper, so you can write stuff down and remember it. Hey, yo. But yeah, shout out Washington in the I guess for Middleton and McCollum, the Wayback Machine anyways. Whoa, chat. Hey, yo. We got a, pretty brutal looking schedule here with the amount of losses. It is what it is. They did get a win versus Dallas in game 2, so I guess they were 500 at one point in the season as well too. So this is even though it's 2-15, a much improved season. Somehow they were 500 at one point in the year, and they are winning a game by 30 or more. So both marks that, again, I don't know where they've been at in the last couple of years. It would have had to have been in the first week of the season that they would have been 500 as well too. I don't think there's any point where they would, even the 40 game mark, if you're like 20-20, they've like won 20 games over the past couple of years. So they would have just gone 0-60 over the last, or 0-40 over the last couple of games, but they're not couple. Hey, yo. But still probably a lot more games than anybody has lost in a row. 18-15. And then they're on pace to do even worse this year. It's crazy. They've got 15 wins in 22-23, 18.3 win percentage. But like we said, 0-6-3 this year is tough. Brian Keefe, chat. Hey, yo. I don't know if you need to, you need us to write the jokes. Maybe you just write them yourself. But following in the path of Wes Unseld just brilliantly. Shout out. I mean, we love, I guess, the whole Unsold family. It is what it is. We're pro Unsold here on the REMINGTOM Pod. But, the obviously Wes Unseld Sr., such a great legend for that franchise, winning a title, underrated superstar as well, too. You never, bring up his name. I'm pretty sure he won an MVP of the league, right? He's won a league MVP and a finals MVP. I mean, how many guys have done that in their career is pretty impressive. I know in some ways, it's a decent list. It's like all the best guys, but still, again, it's like all the best guys. And Wes Unseld is one of all the best guys. That's the point is, he just doesn't get brought up in the list as well, too. So, yeah, 77-78 finals MVP, and then was the 68-69 just regular season MVP. So, again, good career as well, too. Not necessarily numbers that jump off the box score in terms of points, 10 and 14, but just a constant double machine. And for him to be, that just shows, again, the impact that he had on the court over the course of his career, because he wins the MVP, I guess, as a rookie as well. Shout out. And, Pat Mahomes, Chad, at 13 points and 18 rebounds a game. It was transcendent basketball in 68. We really hadn't seen anything like it before, so the man had to win the MVP. I guess, we had, obviously, I guess Bill Russell, shout out, but, just maybe the other, greatest player of all time. But, for then to him a decade later, double back and win the finals MVP as well, too. Pretty impressive. But, Iguodala never won a league MVP. I know Iguodala maybe had some better regular season box score stats than Wes Unseld, but still, I know, Iguodala, like a 20-point a game type of guy, but still, again, Wes Unseld, maybe a little bit more impactful, legendary type name. The Wide U, the Oak Tree. Whoa, chat. I don't know. Basketball Reference getting a little. I don't know if that's more than PG-13 on the nicknames there. That seems a little crazy. Of course, the Wizards haven't been in the playoffs in a couple of years. The fact that the Wizards have been in the playoffs just in this decade is pretty crazy. You wouldn't remember them necessarily. I guess, is that the Westbrook season, 2021? Them going 34-38 and making the playoffs. Shout out Scott Brooks. He might be back, chat. Scott Brooks available? They might be bringing him back. 35 wins is like, would be, whoa, what, this team is headed in the right direction. Shout out. It would be, imagine Thunder fans talking about Scotty Brooks coached the Thunder core back in the day. I'm not saying that we have the Thunder's core, but we're saying that he has experience taking a group of guys like that to good playoff success. You could hear the analysis now, chat. So I sign up for Scotty Brooks, I guess, 4 more years. Bring him back. It is what it is. But yeah, we're maybe gonna see wins here. Have they had any decent wins over the last couple of years? And I guess I don't know why, chat. We might just have to reload the Basketball Reference page. Hey, yo. Shout out. Great site. We're, I guess, gonna just go right back to revisiting it. Hey, yo, we're not You're not going to hear us complain. It is what it is. It's just unfortunately that time acting a little weird. So back at it, chat. Hey yo, oh, take two, no better. Is this an update? Is this just a bad update? Wait, what is this, chat? Year by year stats. It is just a bad update. Hey yo, I guess we'll get used to it. Shout out again. Great site. You're not gonna hear us complain. But, you know, it is what it is. It looks like the menu is not loading properly. Shout out. So, IT, cut that out. You know, we're not trying to make anybody feel bad over here. It is what is, and it literally could just be our menu is not loading properly. It just, for some reason tonight is messed up. But it looks like it used to be what's the good term for it? Like a horizontal menu. Hey, yo, graphic design corner over here. Like, yeah, it used to just be just like, you know, all kind of seamlessly integrated right up here. But still, this is, I guess, you know, easy to find as well too. But either way, let's see if we can go back and navigate the site now that we know that this is, you know, this is what we got. So, and the 2 pages, chat, is pretty funny as well too. You know, it used to be just a nice row right there. So shout out. It is what it is. Let's see what we got here. 18-point win in January of, I guess, who knows what year we're in at this point. But they did get an 18-point win last year. So shout out. They are, again, a roster, a couple of guys, a couple of veterans in McCollum and Middleton. Maybe you think this would have happened a couple more times. I don't know. Wait, why is the closed captioning saying Trevor Ariza? I don't know. There some sort of record that McCollum's got with Trevor Ariza. Hey, yo, Trevor Ariza's got some Wizards records in there. It's maybe bleaker for the Wizards franchise than we thought. Are they counting any of the Bullets stats? Hey, yo, Trevor Ariza. I guess you got, like we're saying, Wes Unseld, your best player of all time. He scored 10 points a game, but even still, like Elvin Hayes, I guess he was there for a while. He scored a lot of points. You know, there wasn't a couple other guys. I don't know what, you know, shout out. I'm not saying that Trevor Ariza couldn't have had any good games. You know, he was a sneaky guy that could just, you know, get hot from 3-point line. You know, if Trevor Ariza hit 10 points in 10 threes in a game, you know, that wouldn't be surprising as well, too. Just, especially in some certain situations, you know, like him in Houston, if it's going to be one where it's like, okay, there's just kind of this 3-man game going, where it's like Harden and Capella on the pick and roll, and then he's just going to be kicking it out to Ariza every time, and Ariza's going to be making it. You know, it could be a good formula if it's really working. But, hey, yo, speaking of good formulas, the Magic are cooking right now. The Sixers, of course, have, you know, gone back into the maybe pause a little bit of more of what we thought the Sixers team was going to be. I guess how much goodwill can you get from the start of the season? And maybe it's just the fact that, you know, Philly, I don't want to say that they didn't have any expectations, but, you know, again, it's difficult to just, like, what expectations do you have? Because, you know, we could look at the team here, and I guess 9-7, still above 500, still is at 3rd in the division. So 7th in the Eastern Conference. You know, now they're in the play-in. But still, if they were to have made the playoffs at the end of the day, if you tell them that at the start of the regular season, hey, you're going to be in the playoffs, I guess a 7 seed will assume that they win their playing game as well too, and, you know, be one of the final 8 teams. But you'd go, okay, that is pretty good as well. And then, you know, the Embiid George minutes, you're going, what does that look like if we're in the playoffs? And, you know, it hasn't been necessarily great this year as well too. And I'm not, you know, trying to be overly critical of when they're on the court. I'm just saying that even them, I mean, you know, maybe in classic them fashion as well too, you know, just not a lot of minutes played. I guess, can we get combined minutes here for Embiid and George? Embiid at 140, Paul George at 66. Hey, yo, so we're looking at like 200 minutes combined for Paul George and Embiid at the end of the day. So I don't even know, like, is Embiid just out for the year at this point? You know, who knows what the injury reports are for these guys. Are they going to play 200 more minutes? Are these guys going to play 500 combined minutes all year? And Philly's going to make the playoffs? You're like, okay, that's still probably a pretty good season. So I guess, you know, in some ways, like I'm saying, I guess that is just, if you're having an over expectation season like that, then you're going to get some goodwill because, again, you're overachieving as well, too. But, yeah, there was, of course, with the way the Eastern Conference, you know, it was unsustainable, just them going to be winning every game. Like we're saying, some of these rosters were going to get to be playing a little bit better. But still, I guess we'll see if they maybe can maintain in the playoffs. Oubre at 50% from the field, though Grimes at 46%. Like, those good veteran guys are gonna, like, those guys, that type of production is production that they've had throughout the course of their career. And Grimes as well too, 39% from three. Again, like, we were really high on him at the end of last year, so to see him continue to produce, of course, with this core is not surprising. Maxi's still at 33 a game. Hey, yo, we'll see if this is just like a Maxi career year, of course, or if this is just Maxi's going to be, I guess, because again, it's also like we're saying, with the efficiency built in as well too. He could be 28 a game next year and take a little bit of a step backward, and maybe it's not as effective in impacting the team. But if Edgecombe has a second half of the year type of run, like, they could be kind of a feisty team as well too. So again, they are kind of in just like expectation. Is there like an expectation purgatory for certain teams? And maybe Philly is one of the teams in expectation purgatory. Maybe Atlanta is also a little bit in expectation purgatory as well too, because they do, by I guess the fortune of the fact that the Pelicans gave them the first round pick. They do have a first round pick. Of course, it's not their own, so they're at the end of the day in a pretty good spot in the first round probably, but still not really in control of their destiny there. So just in terms of what they do with their with their team, again, doesn't directly affect the pick that they're going to be drafting from. So they could still try to, of course, be a really good team if they want to be, and they're not going to want to help the Spurs or just the team in general that they have traded their pick to, you would assume. But McCollum's got 46 tonight. Hey, yo, what's the Wizards franchise record? I guess Beal probably had like a crazy game in there at some point. I don't know. Beal's probably not the first name. We mentioned Elvin Hayes earlier, like one of those legendary guys, of course. Bernard King. Did Bernard King have a bullets run in there? I feel like there might have been a guard in there. Yeah, there might have been a guard that played for the Wizards. That was pretty good. I'm sure there was. But let's see. Can we get some names here? Bellamy. Oh yeah, Bellamy was like 30 a game as a rookie. Gilbert Arenas definitely had some 50s for sure. You would assume. Did Gilbert Arenas get to 50 in a game? Let's hope, chat. Hey, yo. He was definitely, I know you could say whatever you want about the career, but he definitely showed, of course, the talent in his ability, over the course of a couple seasons there. It's like, okay, there is a sustainability to what he can do in the NBA. It's just, compared to the actual amount of seasons that he piled up doing those numbers, again, some other guys obviously got more, but shout out, he was still obviously, like we're saying, really great competitive player. But you'd assume he got to 50. So if he got to 60, then it's like, obviously Arena, add another hour onto their pod. Totally worth it if he did. But let's see. He did, I was going to say, yeah, I think he might have gotten to 60. He did. So 06-07, he did get to 60. Otherwise, he didn't have a 50-point game. So he was really taking advantage of the one game that he was going crazy. I guess this year he could have had some 50-point games, and just this 60-point game, as the game high is neutralizing those games. But in the other seasons, his game high does not get to 50. He had 47, 45. Again, Gilbert, he's out here. Gilbert, hey yo. Okay, so yeah, this year he did, again, was really going crazy. Shout out. Had 3 games of 50 plus, 4 games of 40 plus, 6 games, I should say, 40 plus. And the 3 games of 50 plus, I guess, includes the 60-point performance in there as well too. So 2 others that were at 50, a 51 and a 54. So that would have all been kind of close together. He had the 60-point in December 17th, 54 December 22nd, and then 51 on January 15th. So, really going crazy that year, like we were saying. But yeah, we'll see. I guess McCollum with 3 minutes left, probably not going to get to 60, but either way, is etching his name in Washington Wizards scoring history here with this performance against the Atlanta Hawks. Shout out. You'll love to see it. I guess McCollum, legendary for multiple franchises, Wizards and Blazers. But again, McCollum is going to be one of those guys that shout out. You're going to have loved to, I guess, to whatever degree, shout out again. Really productive player over the course of his career. We're talking all these guys like they're retired. Hey, Chris Paul's the one that actually retired. Maybe we should talk about him, chat. Hey, shout out, of course, one of the great point guards of all time. I don't know if we have to do like a where does he, pause fit into the sort of legendary status of all the players. I mean, it starts getting into our own knowledge of some of the historical guys as well, too. I mean, we could have a general conversation, obviously, just based on some of the general accolades of a lot of those historical players that gets thrown around. And, you see enough highlights and documentaries, I guess, you get a little bit of a style of play and a sense of what they could do, kind of in your subconscious as well, too, when you're thinking about it. But just in terms of a real, obviously, like we're saying, not to compare him to CJ McCollum, but just like what was it like watching some of these other point guards next to Chris Paul. And I think even for guys in our generation as well, too, we definitely saw arguably the most fun era of Chris Paul just as terms of a team with him on the Clippers, of course, with that Lob City team. But the best actual version of Chris Paul, and maybe the best version of Chris Paul was in Lob City as well, too. I should say the best scoring version of Chris Paul was a little bit earlier in his career on those Hornets teams, and those would have kind of been right. I know, he enters the league like right as we're kind of starting to, the basketball memories are really starting to lock in at this point. But still, statistically, you see those years, of course, early on are some of his best. Yeah, what did he have? 22 and 11 in 08-09. The year before that, 21 and 11 as well. So those were actually the only two seasons he was able to get to that 20 point mark. And of course, scoring was never going to be a thing that you were going to have against him in his game. You were never going to question his ability there. But just in terms of, again, sort of the on-screen sort of pop and the, you don't want to say the overall entertainment value as well, too, because, I mean, if you're a real basketball fan, again, you get it. And even if you're not a real basketball fan, again, Chris Paul's a good, fun basketball player to watch and a unique player with just how, IQ, with how smart he was and how crafty he was in the middle of the court as well, too. I mean, maybe he doesn't get enough credit for being kind of a one of one. Maybe he's not necessarily a one of one, but maybe the best version of a certain type of player, because I think Isaiah is just, again, in thinking about how guys are talked about over the course of his career, one of those guys that gets brought up in the scoring argument that you would say didn't necessarily have the points per game to match, again, how good of a scorer he was at the peak of his powers. Though I think maybe Isaiah was a better scorer than Chris Paul, but I would say we probably would, if you were just having us just rank like scoring ability for point guards, we'd probably underestimate Chris Paul there, and then, obviously try to rank him highly in the assisting aspect to, make up for it. And defensively as well, too. I mean, you see him leading the league, the league in steals for, a majority, really, the first decade of his career. So the two-way aspect there of, his game definitely goes a little underrated as well, too. And just the defensive player of the year votings, the defensive teams, how many times, I guess, he's got a whole decade-plus career here, and offensively not necessarily the same level as LeBron, though, again, he did get to that All-NBA level in Phoenix, but defensively, you don't want to say a liability, because, again, he was still like a crafty defender who could, you had a little bit of like a Marcus Smart style of defense where, Marcus Smart, again, Chris Paul's like actually a good defender, but Marcus Smart can like hold up against, like legitimately like actually hold up against a bigger offensive player sometimes, but can also have like that crafty defense, like, oh, this guy's trying to post me up, I'm gonna, pretend to, be there for the contact and then move out of the way so he, trips and falls, or, something simple like that, where it's like Chris Paul's just gonna have a shifty little thing to whatever it's gonna be to win the defensive matchup. But again, he wasn't necessarily a guard another guy type of guy for the last decade of his career. So you do forget a little bit that is, again, such a big part of his career for that first decade on. And there's so many, and I guess there's 3 years in a row there where he's at 19 points a game. Hey, yo, is that one of the biggest, like if Chris, pause, is that like one of the biggest what ifs? Like what if Chris Paul just gets to 20 points a game in all of these years here at the, quote unquote peak of his powers? That goes through, him being in his prime in New Orleans and then in the Clippers as well too. He's at 19 points a game, 10 assists, and 4 rebounds. So yeah, I mean, if you were to do a random sort of and there's not going to be a ton of 20 and 10 career guys. Hey, yo, I guess how many? Because even I guess LeBron's not 20 and 10 for a career. I don't even know if Jokic is at 10 for his career yet. At this point, I'm afraid to look. If Jokic is averaging a triple-double for his career, a triple-double? Hey, yo, is that Jokic, Chad? Is that when he's just a gangster triple-double? Is a triple-double? I don't know if we can start, we're not making associations here. It just turns out to be I guess, a cripple, well, now, I guess, we've said it so many times, it doesn't even matter what other terms we throw out at this point, but, a cripple blutto? I don't know, what is the right term, Chad? Hey, yo, I don't, we might have to get security now when we go outside the studio. But either way, 19 and 10 for our guy Chris Paul, 48% from the field as well too, and 37. Would have been interesting to see him, of course, like anybody, because again, he really does start to, the absolute best years of his career in LA. The 3-point thing is just transitioning there, as he is starting to enter, again, that sort of second half of his career as playing with Devin Booker, needing that other guard as well, too, being kind of a supporting playmaker to a really good scorer, and not necessarily, a lead guard in the same way that he was before. But, again, and, just in general as well, too, when you are making arguments, I don't know if it's a career thing or a fantasy draft thing, and, Magic is going to have this argument on anybody at this point, but there is just that matchup thing, like we're saying as well too. So he does have the defense, and Isaiah does as well. They both do have a two-way factor. Chat, we've got words being exchanged in the Philly versus Orlando game. Suggs is ready to square up. Hey, yo. And of course, classic NBA fashion, a lot of talking, a lot of dancing around the court. DeAndre Drummond trying to get the fans involved. Jalen Suggs, is he getting kicked out? Hey, yo, that might be the most a guy has ever, just gone after somebody and not get kicked out. He's sitting on the bench, so we'll see if they, I guess, maybe assess some flagrants here as well, too. But, again, typically I would say that you're going to, and maybe not always, maybe sometimes you just don't care. You just say, throw me out anyways. But if you do get thrown out, well, then you're like, well, I'm already out of the game. I might as well just keep yelling at this guy. Or, just as I'm being dragged off the court, to hold me back. That's classic, Chad. I honestly, there is a lot of things that you would want to be in the NBA for. Hitting a game-winning three-pointer in the finals is, I'm sure, stuff of dreams. But, like a hold-me-back fight would be pretty fun as well too. Just being able to, I'll get him, hold me back, don't let me after him, because in hockey, again, you actually have to go, it actually resorts to fisticuffs every now and then, like you're actually throwing hands. Speaking of, hey yo, Chad, speaking of triple doubles, hockey, again, you're actually exchanging, exchanging blows is crazy, obviously. But speaking of triple doubles as well too, maybe in different ways. But pause just in case. But yeah, we I guess we'll see how the refs are able to handle this one. And yeah, it was Drummond. Who else do we got in the mix here for Philly? We do a who's on Philly's roster check. Hey yo, and Suggs he wasn't even in the initial seemed like exchange of words there. Seemed like it was being between Wendell Carter maybe and Drummond. So who knows what Drummond was saying to Wendell Carter? Hey, yo, Wendell Carter been in the news lately for maybe some off the court stuff. And, I guess, in positive light. Hey, yo, maybe we should clarify. So, yeah, we got official review here. We'll see what happens. But Philly almost down by 30. So, maybe getting a little a little emotional at this time. Maybe they need a spark chat. Drummond trying to ignite the team. We'll see. Veteran. Do we call it a veteran move, starting a fight with Jalen Suggs? But speaking of veterans, McCollum's getting interviewed for. Do the Wizards broadcast? I guess, do they interview guys? We need to watch it to the end of games more often. We don't watch a lot of fourth quarters for Wizards basketball. Make no mistake, a lot of the games are over by that point. But do they have to interview the guys after the game either way? Hey, yo, that means this side. Shout out. I'm not trying to be disrespectful with terms here, but I'm just saying, I guess we don't know the name of every sideline reporter for every NBA team, but the sideline reporter for the Wizards is going to have like 12 interviews this year. Hey, yo, after the game, it's first time in a month that she's been able to interview a player after the game and be like, hey, it went well. What went right tonight? Shout out. So again, you're rebuilding, and in this draft as well too. I mean, maybe tonight is a perfect night to actually dive into the YouTube highlights even a little bit more as well too, with it being sort of a lighter NBA night. I guess we do have college live in general. We can see if here. We might as well check real quick. Michigan's still cooking away. Shout out. Have that game on in the background. Our guy Ledeborg. Shout out. I don't know if we're saying the name right, but he is cooking to start. You have a lot of hype going into the season. I don't know exactly how high up he was on the watch list and stuff, and I don't know the ranking of all the recruits and stuff that we brought in. We got some good returning as players as well too, but I mean, you see right on the screen, 7th in the nation, 5-0, and a good start against number 21. I'm not gonna say too much early on. We're just gonna sit back, enjoy the season, and let some of the games play out. It is early, letting the rankings sort themselves out as well too. Oh, wait a second. I think, is Suggs going off the court? Uh-oh. Yeah, I think he's done for the day. Up 30, I think his job might be done just as well. Anyways, get a head start. Pause, it is what it is. But, you do, again, maybe Auburn. I guess they're 5-1, but who knows? Maybe they're not the team. We'll see. But the competitiveness, again, just the overall, what is the hope for Michigan basketball this year? Could be pretty exciting. And we've talked about Dusty May. It's the Dusty May factor that is in... I don't want to directly compare him to other coaches on the campus and start naming names and being like, oh, this, whatever. But you do, pause, feel the difference when you have I'm not going to say when you have an elite coach like that, because again, shout out. Sharon Moore has done a great job so far at Michigan, handling the team. They have, for the most part, again, they were able to get that upset win against Ohio. Speaking of how much goodwill can you earn from performance? I mean, a whole season of goodwill up until this next game, and we'll see what happens here. I mean, if it's really disastrous, things could be looked at. We'll see. I would assume that there has been some stuff maybe with Underwood's development as well too. We'll see over these last couple of games if he is really, ending the season on a strong note. Is that, Sharon Moore finally, and again, it's one season. Maybe he needs it. At the end of the day, 7 games is still 2/3 of a college season, but not a lot of time for a guy to adjust to Division I football in general. Maybe he needed 7 games or 8 games to, get into the, again, actually being a above average quarterback as well too. But the Dusty May effect is real, and you do feel that, and the confidence, I should say, with him as the head coach, and it is a little bit as well too the standing, the current landscape. I think the college football head coaching landscape right now, and I'm just a little bit more familiar with the names, but I would say it probably is a little bit more competitive than the college basketball coaching landscape. But again, there's just going to need more time for guys to make names and for continue to build legacies. But, again, if we're just going sort of trade value for college football head coaches, or, head coaches either way, I guess I should say in general, Dusty May is higher up on the college basketball trade value head coach list than Sharon Moore is on the college football head coach list. And again, I don't necessarily, if we're, how many ways can we rank it? If it's 2K grades, I think Dusty May's probably got a higher 2K grade. Dusty May's just a great coach. Shout out. It is what it is. But the trade value as well too, the coach in the current landscape, he is, I think, a little bit better in the current landscape as a college basketball head coach right now than, maybe other coaching counterparts on the school. Oh, turnover by the Sixers to end the half, or the Wizards, the Wizards, the Magic. They're playing like the Wizards tonight, up 30. Shout out. Are they going to get a lob to end the half? They will. The Sixers get a little bit of a half-court attempt there, but, Quentin Grimes, shout out. We love him, but he's not able to get it to go. So 86-60 at the half for Orlando. Uh-oh, chat. The NBA has gotten a little poor tonight. It is what it is. It happens. You schedule 3 games. You're not really giving yourself a lot of leeway there for a lot of great play. I guess Lakers-Clippers is going to have to do a lot of carrying tonight. And it will as well, too. I imagine that Harden versus... unless, of course, the Clippers just don't get any stops, then... if LeBron's just cooking the Clippers like he was the Jazz the other night, then, then they don't stand a chance. But Harden's off a 55-point game. So you imagine maybe him and Luka go a little toe-to-toe in this one. It could be a little interesting. Oh, chat, now we have to balance trying to select the games for both TVs here. I actually accidentally just home screened both TVs. It's okay. It is, I guess, halftime for the NBA as well. So we do have a little bit of time here to get this game going. And I guess for college, if we're going to go to the Michigan game, hey, yo, this is not the one. Make no mistake. They are, again, dominating the opponent so far. Auburn, shout out. And Bruce Pearl's teams are always ones that we kind of gravitate toward watching. Fun styles of play, of course. They can be heavily offensive focused. Can be maybe a team that is a little bit of a matchup problem at sometimes for teams like Michigan. You don't really have the sort of stylistic stuff in college basketball. I mean, you do a little bit with maybe some like ACC Big East type stuff with like how do these teams match up. But in college, old school college football, of course, that was a little bit more of a talking point, and a thing to factor in would have been how do the styles of play actually match up against each other. But for college basketball, it is a little bit like that sometimes. It does. Big Ten can be a little bit slower, some defense, maybe some post play. Sometimes you got like a 7-foot. I mean, I guess North Carolina's had like a Tyler Hansborough or something in the past, but still, Tyler Hansborough does feel like he could have been a Big Ten guy. I guess it's either Big Ten or Duke or North Carolina as well. Maybe that's why those teams are susceptible to upsets against Big Ten teams. They have Big Ten style players. I don't know, but hey, yo. But the Big Ten style players is crazy. But sometimes a 3-point shooting. I mean, Michigan as well too has been like a up and down team themselves in the past. I don't know, that's a pause, but the era of Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway and those guys were really crazy offensive team as well. But still, sometimes like we're saying, I mean, like against anybody, I guess the 3-point thing can be dangerous. Oh, is that Pettiford off the dribble? So, cut it to 26 going into half. Auburn, they are ranked in the top 25, so we can't let them go away here. It is what it is. And they are doing okay from 3, I guess 30%, not terrible. So a couple away from, good percentage. All of a sudden, I don't know if you're taking a timeout starting the second half going, wait a second, settle down here. But, yeah, shout out, 60 points in the first half. You're not going to be upset about that. And Johnson as well, too. Wait a second. We got to go. Merez Johnson, shout out. 13 a game this year. 13-7. What do we got? Oh, it's not going to give us career as well. I guess he could have, shout out, he probably was there last year. We just don't remember the roster. It is what it is. But definitely either way, taking a step forward. So that's what we're, of the returning players. Maybe we weren't knowing any names when we said that, but that would have been one of them that is contributing right there. But shout out, yeah, great performance so far. Iowa State is cooking. Oh, Houston, Tennessee was a game tonight as well. Alabama with the late game. And I guess this is what we were saying earlier with a fun stretch of the college basketball season, because there was a game on, was it last night? Maybe, oh yeah, I think it was last night because it was after the Monday night game. I was going to say it was after one of the NFL games, but I don't think it was Sunday night. But we went just like, okay, maybe we're going to throw Sports Center on here just because I don't want to throw a movie on Tubi, I guess. But instead of Sports Center, it was like, wait a second, there's a college basketball game? and it's like good teams. Like Texas was playing somebody. It's like, okay, so Arch Manning's not going to be out there, but still, I guess we'll watch Texas college basketball. So, well, this is, I guess, perfect thing to fall asleep to. Well, it's great stuff right here. Basketball, shout out. But yeah, we got a little Alabama versus UNLV with the near midnight start time. I guess tonight. I guess maybe midnight East Coast as well. Is this a Maui situation here? I don't know. UNLV. Oh, this is Players Era as well too. Do we need to see where this is located? Oh, in Vegas. Shout out. So just right off the casino floor, we got the Rebels and the Tide are gonna be. Wait, is it two teams? Oh no, it's Crimson Tide versus no Rebels and Tide. Yeah, shout out. So, yeah, they will be fresh off of, I guess, whatever slot machines they'll be playing. Do college basketball teams play the slot machines? Probably not. Probably like most teams, probably like most people, playing the cards. Though I don't know, is it percentage wise? Maybe more people actually play the slots. Plus, if you're playing cards, it's easier to wander over and play a slot, than it is to just maybe jump in a card situation. But I guess maybe we need to go back and we need to wander around Vegas a little bit more, chat. It is what it is. We need to get to the casino in the state at some point. We've talked about it with the guys, just being like, hey, did we just go have a casino day at some point, just like old school, guys hanging out at a casino. I guess I don't even know if it's old school, but maybe I don't know if we're throwing on like suits for the occasion. I don't think the casino in the state is suit worthy. It is what it is, but I don't know if casinos are suit worthy in general now. I mean, I'm sure, I guess you could find the areas that are, but maybe it's a little, I guess, what are the rules for private events as well too, because we know that there's a couple people in the NBA that just got in trouble for that. So, it's not like you could just, I guess, host a poker event, which is I guess, I don't know if we're bringing back up the Chauncey Billups story, but that is something we have to look into. I guess maybe not just because we're curious and no other reason. But it's like, you can't just like host a poker night, I guess. So, I mean, in some ways it's like, okay, I get, the kind of the regulating the gambling. It's like, okay, if you got to regulate everything, then yes, I guess, sure, I get the letter of the law there to some degree, like what it could mean. But still, it's like, okay, at the end of the day, that seems a little extreme. So then again, if in these games as well too, it wasn't necessarily, I think, the private poker game part that was the sketchy part. I think it was maybe the glasses and the infrared cards and the tables and whatever the ways they were using to actually, I think it was the defrauding that was the maybe more of the crime. But we're gonna have to go back and watch Molly's game as well too. Do we just have to look up the plot of Molly's game? I feel like that has been on the streaming services lately. Shout out. Maybe it's been because of some of these gambling stuff that they're like, okay, people are gonna want to watch this movie. But shout out, Kevin Costner, a sneaky Kevin Costner. I guess you don't necessarily shout out. I mean, Jessica Chastain is obviously fantastic in this movie, but this is, late stage Costner. Hey, I don't. I think he's still with us. But what year did Man of Steel drop? So it's like, and I guess we're just talking about his movie roles here. Can I call him? Can we call him Dad Costner, chat? Because he plays the Superman. He plays the Superman guy, and then he plays the Molly's game guy as well too. And they're both kind of similar-esque characters, and it is kind of a fun, Costner just in these roles, supporting actor in a couple of scenes. But then, because he is a father figure to these characters, he is probably going to have like that one emotional, going to drop some wisdom type scene. So it's like Costner can still get hit in his acting bag in that one scene as well too. And obviously Costner's tone is an iconic tone, but maybe, is Costner a little, I'm not going to compare him to Nas, because if Nas dropped an album right now, like if him and Hit Boy dropped a 7th album, it'd be great. But you're like, okay, you probably know it's going to be the same formula. Like Costner, what his pitch is going to be in a movie. But if he hits that pitch for like one really good scene or two or three, just a couple of good scenes in a movie, you're like, okay, this is still, really effective. in 2020. I guess, that was 10 years ago at this point. Hey, yo, like 17, 18 almost. But, I guess revisionist history on the Costner, career there. I guess maybe back then. I don't know. What has Costner been in? Well, I guess he was in what was the Western that he was in? The one Western that he was in recently. I think he's only been Western. Horizon, American Saga. So that was 2024. Honestly, the 6.6 on IMDb and the 7.1 is a little bit higher of a rating than we would have thought. 3 hour. Ow, chat. Hey, yo. 3 hours for the first one, 3 hours for the second one. Hey, yo. 6 hours of runtime for Horizon. And make no mistake, there's one thing he got right about this title. An American Saga. Yes, sir. 6 hours is crazy. I guess just directed by Costner. Did he write it? Okay, he did write it. Shout out. A couple other people listed on the screenplay as well, too. Does he have anything upcoming? Of course he does. In development, production. Oh, chat. Make no mistake. Of course, it's an American Saga. It can't just stop at 2 chapters. Chapter 3 is in production? Hey, yo. He's got the crew back together. Is there a chapter 4 in production as well, too? Chat, there's a chapter 4. Oh, chat. He got 12 hours of American Saga. Pause. Because you have a standard to keep now, too. These movies are 3 hours long. It is what it is. They're too long, but that's what they are. They're too long. It's the only thing that's iconic about these movies at this point. Shout out. Untitled Kevin Costner versus Ariel maybe that's a different type of project. Untitled Kevin Costner / Ariel Vroman project. So I guess Ariel Vroman directing. What do we got here for him? Maybe some underrated movies we haven't seen. Some Netflix projects, maybe? I don't know. Some movies that I guess I'm not super familiar with. But shout out. I guess, I was going to say maybe we skip to like the gambling scenes in Molly's scenes. In Molly's game, because the gambling scenes are really good. I don't have the knowledge of gambling movies to say where they rank in gambling movie scenes. And you've got Sorkin on the movie in general. So, it is in... I'm not going to say it's a guaranteed crisp. Well, I guess it's Sorkin. We got to give the man his respect. Hey, if anybody's great at writing a script, it's Sorkin. So what are you going to sit here and, talk about the couple that, were okay? It's like, I think the man's had their career. But it's going to be I guess maybe the directing is the thing that if we check here, has he been as hit of a director as well? I guess how many times has he directed? Maybe just 5 movies. Okay, wait. Sorkin corner here. Oh, Trial of the Chicago 7. Was one that he directed as well too, and that one was pretty well regarded. I guess we didn't watch that one, but yeah, it seems like it was well worth the well worth time, well worth the make, well worth the story for everybody involved there. But Molly's game, 220, maybe is a little bit of a task, but maybe is it better than Task? I don't know. Do we have to compare? DM us at REMINGTOM on Instagram. Let us know. Which one would you rather watch? Molly's Game, the movie, or Task, the TV show? I don't know if it's comparable there. Michael Cera as Player X. You got a good stacked list of just cameo gamblers, chat. Hey, yo. And that is a fun thing about gambling movies like that as well, too. How often can you make I guess you probably could make it pretty often. Because it doesn't have to be real. Of course, Molly's Game is based on a real story. But you can have a fake version of it. I mean... Ocean's 11, of course, is not necessarily a full gambling movie, but it does have that opening scene where Clooney and Pitt are in the celebrity circle with, is that Topher Grace? Or maybe I have to go back and watch Ocean's 11 now as well, too. But the ability to just stack on celebrity cameos like that in these gambling circles is a fun element of those movies. And maybe, like we're saying, with the push for it now, I mean, there has to be. There's no way that Hollywood's not gonna, tap into this whole just like everything. Gambling is taking over sport. It's taking over sports. It's taking over, in some ways, it is really moving into pop culture as well, too. I can't say it's taking over pop culture yet because it's not, we're not talking about events necessarily from a line standpoint, though. Again, some of the talking points are being brought in, and sites obviously like Polymarket and Kalshi keeps putting out ads, so people keep I guess signing up for it if they're out there. But the ability to just bet on these pop culture moments as well too is, I mean, in some ways, like award shows and things, of course, you could always, I'm sure, find ways to get odds on those. But just now it's like, I mean, I guess maybe like election stuff is basic stuff as well too. That's kind of big name stuff that probably you could get odds on at any point, just in general. But again, just kind of every little pop culture moment, and even I'm like Drake and Kendrick beef type stuff. It's like, wait a second, is there odds on this for Polymarket? Like what's gonna happen? But the fact that it doesn't seem like it's made its way into movies in a crazy way is a little surprising. I mean, it's again kind of an in the moment thing. So does it need a year, 18 months for these projects to actually start being on the screen as well too? But the fact that people are just so interested in the act of gambling and just the participation in the event of it itself, like that being on screen in those anticipation moments, like those are things that I think I want to say, like, are they all relatable? But I just think that there's an interest there that is being lost a little bit, not necessarily being brought on screen in the same type of way, and even just being worked in to the movies as well too. I know this is a little bit of like a rewatchables thing because they'll talk about like working a sports scene into a movie, but that type of stuff just doesn't necessarily, I think, get thought about as well too. And just like working in a card scene to a movie a little bit, like Edge of Tomorrow, they got the part on the loop where he is wandering into the the barracks, I don't know what you call it there, the bunkhouse. Hey yo. But but he's wandering in there, and the crew's got the card games they should be playing, and it's like, okay, it's kind of fun. They're gambling, they're hanging out, they're having a good time. You could kind of assume the connective moments in something like that as well too that you can have over a game. You're like, you can just tell a little bit of a crew if it's like, okay, they're hanging out and they're playing cards. And again, if you're having a good competitive scene, it can be a great moment for actors to go back and forth, pause, or directors as well too. If it's like, I guess it works good for both. I mean, in some ways, again, a movie's gonna have opportunities for both players to cook, but you can have a James Bond style scene where he's trying to have the standoff, who's gonna show their bluff against the bad guy in Casino Royale, or you can have kind of a montage-y, director-y, in his bag, really cutting between different events type of stuff as well too. But yeah, shout out, I guess, Molly's Game. I don't remember exactly why we were gonna queue that up, but I'm never against it, Chad. Never against it. It is one of those sneaky, it is like a sneaky favorite movie from the last couple of years, and you do, last maybe 10, 15 years or so, and you do have, of course, I think that separation of anything where maybe you have your own kind of personal list of quality, but then if we actually check the numbers, it's like, okay, well, this is what the numbers say. I mean, of course, Spotify Wrapped is a little bit like that, where we could all, talk about a list of like what are our favorite albums from a given year or just in general all time, but then, hey, let me see the stats, like what are you playing? And then what does that say, of course, about, your relationship to either of those projects? Are you not being honest about, like, or, not even just lying, but are you not being honest with yourself about what you like better? Or is it just, again, in the moment as well, too? And, maybe you're the type of person that goes in cycles and the types of, we'll say, projects that you like as well, too. It's like, okay, maybe I don't always have a favorite movie or a favorite album or something like that, but Molly's Game would be one of the ones where maybe I would think of it pretty quickly as well too, but maybe again I wouldn't be honest with myself. It's like, what are your 5 favorite movies of the last 15 years? Because Molly's Game really one of them? It might be. If I just go in safety for watching this movie, like I'm gonna watch this movie, I'm gonna have a good time, it's great performances, like I can throw it on again and just pause, like relive the experience as well too. Like, you gotta pause. It's just a fun ride. Molly's Game, shout out. So, Sorkin in his bag for that one. And Social Network, and that can happen for us a little bit as well, too, where you can kind of have the hit that everybody gravitates toward. And it's like, okay, everybody's over there watching Social Network. Like, we'll just watch Molly's Game. But it might be, well, Speaking of performances, Social Network is pretty good. I don't want to. It's pretty good. It's pretty good writing as well too. Like it's tough to say that it's not Sorkin's best movie, but Molly's Game, maybe it's Sorkin's best subject matter. That could be a fun case. Sorkin's most fun subject matter. If we went through some of the different actual projects that he was working on there as well too, because I mean he obviously spends a lot of time in the political side of things as well too, and his ability to just craft back and forth dialogue that's just so captivating makes a lot of those, and the fact that works so well in those political settings as well too, where it's about people talking and just going on these monologues, that it makes those types of things so captivating. But just again, in terms of what environment sounds fun, the high stakes illegal poker game setting is definitely a unique one for him to be working with. And again, he really pulls that movie off pretty good as well too. And it is, speaking of gambling, one of the more actually, you do get a lot of gambling in that movie. And I know, again, there's a whole subsection of movies that we could go through if you want to see guys play, people playing cards on screen, I'm sure. But that is, I mean, even now as well too, one of the better ones as well. Because even, Focus, we watched earlier this year on the anniversary for that, definitely a gambling movie. But in sports, gambling's a little bit different. It's fun. I love a sports gambling movie for sure. Again, obviously we were, enjoying that, paying homage to that one in the 10th year rewatch. But and the gambling scene in that one is definitely really great. There's a couple of different kind of variations of a gambling scene, or them just kind of, I guess making money however they make money. Hey, yo. But like we're saying, Molly's Game, you're actually getting some cards and some stuff as well too. And Casino Royale is up there as well. Maybe a little personal list. I don't know. We're doing top 5 cards movies. But and Casino Royale might honestly be the number 1 as well too. Because again, you do actually get a little bit more game on the screen. Molly's Game, you do get the games, but you do again get a little bit of montage as well too, and kind of the story cutting in between that. And it is perfect, very well executed, we should say. For do we need to correct ourselves there, Chad? I don't know, but it's some terms, I gotta use them carefully a little bit. We're not just saying words out here, but very well executed. Of course, by our guy Sorkin there in that project. So yeah, shout out, Molly's Game, a classic, chat, a real classic. Maybe we got to make that a list. The 25, because I guess maybe it's a favorite, but it's like underrated. But I don't know if Molly's Game is necessarily underrated, but I think it is. It's not, every person on the street has seen Molly's Game. Like I might be the one person in our friend group that has seen it. Hey, am I the cool guy? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it is maybe, again, the type of movie, like, everybody's got kind of their own unique movie algorithm, and that obviously leads you to the path to, whatever you want to watch. But I think we'd probably be the only one that would kind of venture down toward that type of movie anyways. Again, just kind of like a gambler-centric, illegal poker. I mean, if you were asking our friend group, like, which friend is the most likely to watch a movie about a high stakes celebrity, high stakes celebrity gambling poker ring, they'd be like, yeah, I think we know who it is. So, because I mean, that's obviously right. That's heisting right there. That's all in line. It's all robbery, chat. Hey, yo, highway robbery. We just want to see him taking on the man, chat. That's what it is, really is, at the end of the day. But yeah, I don't know what the Venn diagram is between Molly's Game and Scarface, but it seems like it's a little bit closer than you would think. Hey, yo, again, speaking of crippled bloodles, hey, yo, Molly's, what's her name, Chad? I guess we're not gonna again associate her with anything, but I guess she is gangster at the end of the day. Hey, yo, I don't know, is that some serious white guy humor right there? I'm not sure, but oh, now I'm just scrolling IMDb. Once again, I'm checking to see if The Bodyguard is streaming anywhere, and once again, it is not, chat. It is not. I don't know. Speaking of Kevin Costner, how this is possible. Speaking of underrated, this is literally like, I mean, it is the greatest selling soundtrack of all time. So I don't know how this movie just doesn't stream anywhere. Like, that is, again, it's a historic thing. So maybe, I don't know, is there something, are we just overlooking something? I don't, who knows? Maybe rights? I'm not sure, but somebody needs to step up and make sure this movie is on the airwaves being played eternally forever. I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, do I have to log into Tubi right now and see? Because I feel maybe pause. If I look up Belly 2, is Belly 2 listed? Oh, it is listed as it is on Tubi. I was gonna say I thought maybe it was listed as not on Tubi, but it is actually just like sneaky on Tubi, and they just I guess just don't care to tell you that it's on there. But no, it is listed. Belly 2 is currently on Prime Video, Roku Channel, Tubi, Fossum, and Plex Movies and TV. It's on 5 streaming services, and The Bodyguard is on American Airlines. If you go fly an American Airlines flight, you can watch The Bodyguard. Otherwise, we got Belly 2 over here. Shout out. I mean, we love the game. I mean, of course, we, really, really love Sherry Headley, of course. But I don't know if Belly 2 is the project if we want to see it. Maybe we listen to the documentary and watch Coming to America, pause, if we want to, see them at their best. But Belly is, I think, worthy of the amount of streaming services it's being played on either way. But, yeah, Chad, Michigan up by 30 as we have the second half kind of firing up here. And the 3 from the outside, I mean, you see that does not look like hopefully we are going to slow down in this one. So, I mean, as we work our way into into familiarizing ourselves with the college basketball season, great start. Hopefully this is not the apex mountain, I guess, if to use another rewatchable term, for the 2025 year. But, again, this close to the top of the rankings, I'm almost afraid to look up the FanDuel odds to see maybe if they have us a little overrated as well, too. Yeah, that's a tough spot for us to be as well, too, this early in the year. We don't want to be overrated, but if we're a great team, I guess then it is what it is. We'll just be a good team all year. Shout out. But Lendenborg from 3. So we're, just going to continue to take down Auburn in this one, chat. Pause. Shout out. It is what it is. But we will go to break real quick, and then maybe we just hit the film room, chat. We'll just hit the little Thanksgiving film room on a Tuesday night. We got college basketball. We've got, I guess, waiting for the Lakers-Clippers game to fire up here. And it really is just at this point, just us, it's like, okay, if you're going to talk, they say talk about what you want to talk about. So this is it, chat. I guess we just really want to watch YouTube highlights of Dembasta and Boozer. So we might cue that up afterwards at this point. It's one of those things, if I don't watch it now, I'm not going to be able to get anything done in real life because we're going to just be focused on, I got to sit down and just watch Dembasta highlights and see what is going on. I know we were trying to watch him a little bit a couple live streams ago, but maybe with this amount of sports on, this is the time. Oh, chat, you love to see it. The Fab Five reunited. Of course, we got the 4 guys with the arms around each other, buddy for the photo. Chris Webber's still kind of just leaning in, but you love to see them all photographed together in 2025. Hey, of course, that would have been something to wish for only, so many years ago. But now reunited, at least hanging out, talking cool again. You love to see it. The memories and the good times and the greatness that they accomplished, as a group at Michigan basketball, has to outweigh everything else that maybe could possibly be between those guys. That has to be, not even just for Michigan basketball, but just for Michigan sports. And honestly, for basketball. I think for basketball, that has to be a group that stays together. I think fortunately there isn't, most of the time, a lot of the groups do, a lot of the cores that win titles, a lot of times they win titles because they get along. They're able to stick together like that pause for, several seasons and have that chemistry. And it is, it makes guys play well on the court as well, too. That familiarity. And you can even just say friendship as well. Again, I'm not saying, is everybody everybody's best man at everybody's wedding? Maybe not. But is there a definite, again, a real life, hey, these guys actually are there's a friendship there. They're cool with each other. These guys actually kind of, hey, they get each other's vibe a little bit. And that actually can benefit on the court performance as well, too. And I'm sure we could go through the list of teams in NBA history. Even Michael, I know that people always talk about, oh, he's a tough guy. Ayo, he's competitive, and it is what it is. I'm sure that, that is the case. And Michael's probably got other things that people talk about as well too that are gonna, get brought up. But the clips and the stuff you see of him still in The Last Dance, and I'm sure, are they gonna show the clips of, hey, here's how we're gonna have the documentary to make him look bad? But there is still, you see those moments of him hanging out with the guys, and obviously, but when Michael's cool, when Michael's just being cool, he's cool. And I guess, that's like, when is he ever not the psycho competitive Michael guy, just always in overdrive trying to win at everything? But you, again, see even in those moments when they're just hanging out and having fun, that there is still a connection there with all those guys. And I guess the Scottie Pippen, maybe that is the one, Scott, but that is a little bit of a bummer as well, too. I guess in some ways there's like a content angle that maybe it's like, okay, if we're just content, if we're just in a disgraceful place for content and we just don't value people's relationships, I guess, over that, then maybe that would be a thing that you would be like, okay, well, we can get there's like some funny stories that have, I guess, is funny even the word? I don't even know. Like, there's just been drama, I guess, out of that as well. I guess that is now that we're actually thinking about the drama out of that situation, that is, obviously pretty unique, and maybe not one that you can just chalk up for like, okay, is this going to happen every time for some of these groups? But I guess either way, just from a historical standpoint, that's one of the great groups in sports history, one of the great turning point, transcendent kind of intersection moments just in sports history, in basketball history as well too. Again, not even talking just NBA, anything specifically, but just for sports, for basketball in general. It's a group of guys that still need to be in community with each other as well too. So you love to see that that's still the case a little bit still in 2025 as well. But yeah, I guess we'll go to break now and be back. Maybe we watch Fab 5 Film Room after this. Whoa. Hey, yo. We'll be back, chat. Don't go there. All right, chat, we are back. Welcome to the film room. It looks just the same as the normal room, but we watch film and we break it down. Hey, yo, is that Gruden's slogan? I think we hopefully we don't get copyrighted for taking his whole flow, chat. We copied his whole flow. Hey, yo, if we start like, doing like snarly type looks or, hey, I guess Gruden has been. Well, he's been making his way back. Shout out. There's been a little bit of a Gruden-sance. The Jackson Dart clip, I guess, in some ways, is that good or bad for the Gruden? What is it? What does Jackson Dart mean for the John Gruden, what do you call it, credentials in 2025? Because I feel like there were, like him in the booth, him as a coach, there, whatever kind of dialogue there was there over the last, for us guys our age growing up, there was, even on that, for whatever that ESPN show was, good moments with those quarterbacks breaking down film and guys, actually kind of showing what they were capable of, or vice versa, of being like, oh, maybe there are, like, hey, do we have to look at this in a different way here? And I'm trying to, do we have to go back and remember, obviously, which ones did not go in conjunction with that? But again, it's like, okay, now the first kind of clip, I guess, back in the mix as well too. And again, I don't remember exactly the whole timeline that we're on with John Gruden here, but it does feel like that was the first time in a while where it's like, and again, maybe he brought the show back just now, or when that was happening, but that was the first time in a minute where one of those was a big deal. And Jackson Dart's actually good as well too, but no Dayball. We'll have to see. I mean, Winston was cooking with who took over? Was it their offensive coordinator that took over as the head coach, or was like the special teams guy or something like that? But hey, yo, if Jackson Dart can do what Jameis Winston did in that offense, then everything will be okay, I guess, for the team. I mean, chat, we've got the fifth stringers in, right? I mean, they don't even have this many guys on NBA rosters. They've called guys in from the G League in this Magic Sixers game and brought them to the stadium in time for them to play for this fourth quarter. I mean, it is going to be some low-key basketball here in the in-season tournament. I mean, shout out. You got to say, they're in Philly 83-117. The crowd is still there. So fourth quarter, it is the NBA. You never know. But, I mean, they've waved the white flag. They've subbed in the guys. They're done. It is what it is. So maybe this is a random, the squad bench guy. They just bring them back. Hey, yo. But I doubt, I don't know if we're going to bet on that. Make no mistake. But speaking of film room, maybe it is time to continue to try to see what is going on with some of these top prospects for the NBA. Some of these teams that are going to be headed for the top of the draft. Hey, yo, if these records and performances still hold out here in, I don't know if Dembasta is our number. Oh, here we go. Here's a little Dembasta versus Caleb Wilson. We've been meaning to kind of watch Caleb Wilson a little bit as well, too. And I guess in general, like we said, the rest of that kind of top six, Wilson, Amit, and then there's another name in there that I'm not remembering. And then you got Dembasta, Peterson, Boozer as the top three. But this will be good to see them, match up here and see what is going on, because they're not too dissimilar profile-wise, I think, and I think Caleb Wilson might be a little bit more forward as well, too, where you got, Peterson kind of in that guard territory, and Amit maybe is kind of a forward as well. He might be, like we're looking at, in that 6'10", yeah, for Amit. And Wilson is 6'10". Oh, they've got him fourth. Maybe they had him fourth already now. So him and Dembasta, one away from each other here on the Tankathon. And yeah, we got to watch Peterson next. Hey, yo, 31 a game. What's the most a freshman's ever scored in college? He might be setting records, honestly, at this point. I mean, we would probably have to go back to Davis in Kentucky to be the most impactful freshman just in general. I mean, freshman winning the national title, if I'm not mistaken. Is there like a really recent one that just hasn't registered in that type of historic way yet? But, again, Davis as a freshman winning the title at Kentucky was pretty great stuff. But the actual scoring guard being the guy that was leading his team, that would be a little bit more rare. I think a defensive center is a little bit more even traditional for college basketball, even if it's not necessarily you know, or a guy that would, I guess Klingon maybe, if we were looking at some of those Kentucky teams, they did have some freshmen on him as well too. Maybe that's what I'm trying to think of, is like, does Castle count in this mix? But just in terms of highly just sort of the draft level prospects of the way they were being discussed as well too. Anthony Davis maybe a little bit more in line with, being number 1 overall pick and getting kind of some transcendent labels as well. But yeah, 31 a game is, it's not Pistol Pete. Maybe, I guess it has to be Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete was probably scoring 40 a game here. I don't know if they were, what the stat keeping was back then, but he is the all-time leader, so it is pretty official if they have him listed like that. I was gonna say, what is his name? It's not typing up. How many Pete M's are out there that are better than Pete Maravich? A career 42 a game in college, 43.8. So that was as a sophomore. So even Pistol Pete had a year, chat. Hey, yo, as a freshman, was there like a JV team that Pistol Pete was on in the 60s? I'm not sure. But Peterson might be in line to break whatever it may be. We got Wilson, a little kind of post-up baseline, jab step. I don't know if we see him doing too much with the dribble yet in game, but you maybe see that there is definitely some shot-making upside there. DeBasta, the two-way play, has been in the highlight reel. Ayo, is this the opening game of the year? I don't see a record on the ESPN score. Again, we're rewatching highlights here, but they have BYU ranked in the top 10, North Carolina at 25. So I'm guessing this would have been game 1. In Utah, they're playing in, I guess, BYU. Shout out. But, here we go. Wilson on DeBasta. DeBasta knocks it away. So, again, I think Wilson is, maybe, did they get a foul there? I don't know. I don't know if Wilson is watching this, the most polished creator at this point. So maybe that would give DeBasta a little bit of advantage in a defensive matchup. But regardless, you do see he has some quick hands ability to hold up there. Oh, the defense by North Carolina, end of the shot clock. That time is pretty good as well. So they've both kind of gotten their wins in the matchup of offense, defense, and kind of locking the other guy down as well too. And we were kind of hoping for this in the NBA a little bit. We were talking a couple live streams ago about guys kind of battling offense, defense, back and forth, matching up over the course of a game, and for, kind of extended stretches as well too. I don't know, but the actual guys having the two-way matchup just doesn't seem, and with all the switching as well too. But college doesn't quite have the same, of course, offensive pick and roll, switch everything the same way necessarily that the NBA does. It is still getting more pro focused, and guys are getting, better in college as well too, more skilled. But it is still a little bit of a different style of play, and you can maybe have a little bit more of those matchups as well too than you actually can in the NBA itself. And the team skill level as well too is just, sometimes different from, the across the roster, where the capabilities you have, of course, across certain matchups are going to be different. DeBasta might be the only legitimate guy you have to match up against Caleb Wilson. Again, BYU is obviously ranked higher here, so I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying that, the switchability and the defensive team game planning stuff may be, of course, a little bit different on this level as well too. But Wilson, of course, athletic. But the attacking, swooping the toward the basket has been effective on the reel here. Not a ton of outside jumpers early on. I don't know if we take a sneak peek over here at the 3-point percentage. They don't just have it listed on the screen. You see, it doesn't affect his scoring, and his rebounding is good overall too. So you see that, again, the energy and just him around the basket is still pretty effective. But for 3, he is okay. He's 40%, but yeah, he doesn't really take any as well. So here he is. I guess for the year here, I guess they don't have the North North Carolina game listed on this one, but he is in these last couple 2 makes and 5 overall. So I mean, yeah, I guess 40% would be 2 for 5 if we would, do some other parts of the math formula there. We could have figured that out quicker. But the the maybe that if we were taking a look, and like we said, we've seen some of the highlights as well too of him in the training settings with a pretty good looking jumper. So we're not necessarily again doubting the ability to extrapolate that out and assume that he could be good from a kind of 3-and-D wing angle. But again, it's just not necessarily something that you're seeing a lot of at this point as well. But maybe a little bit of an effort to at least take one in there as well, not just totally avoiding it, is definitely something to notice. And again, does have a way. I mean, you see crazy efficient outside of that as well. We might have to look up this Caleb Wilson Kansas game too. 9 for 11 in that one, 8 for 10, 4 for 13 would have been the one kind of game to balance this all out, honestly, and keep it even in reasonable percentage. Otherwise, he's basically missing like 1 to 2 shots a game almost. So he could be up in the high 80% if it wasn't for maybe even 75 plus if it wasn't for the Radford defense holding him to 4 for 13 in that one as well too. And maybe this is with, like we're saying, without even a little bit of a bag. So that is, of course, an interesting debate as well if you're looking across the guys and if you're seeing one that is a little bit more polished, but the numbers are similar. Of course, what does Wilson look like once he actually starts to develop scoring moves, and what even is, sort of that package as well too. I guess if we kind of did a little bit more Wilson focus highlight reel, like we were saying here, we'll see what gets suggested. Then maybe we could see style of play a little bit more. Ooh, exhibition game. Oh, here we go. Wilson versus Peterson matchup. Oh, chat, we should have locked in early in the season and just watched all these games. We might have to go back on the ESPN, honestly, and see what's logged in the app on demand and see if we can just rewatch some of these games and some of these performances. Maybe they're maybe they're on the YouTube. Who knows? But a lot of the top 5 prospects, of course, in these tournaments have been actually matching up, and maybe them actually kind of all gravitating towards some of these top schools again, where I'm sure that like Duke has always, of course, done really well, but I know like Arizona's had some really good recruiting classes over the last couple of years. Like I said, I don't know if Auburn actually turned good recruiting classes or like some transfer classes in there, but there was some, you have that absolute like Illuminati tier of college basketball teams, and there were some teams that were not quite in the Illuminati tier of blue bloods, getting some of these higher classes, where again, it's not like if Arizona has a great recruiting year, you're not like, whoa, what's going on there. Arizona basketball is a really, legendary school, good school, but still, I think if it's at some point, you're going to see that year again where it's like all the blue bloods are in that high recruiting stage and all of those guys are gravitating toward those top end schools. And with the NIL, with the transferring stuff as well too, the turnover year to year with just the guys going into the draft, the teams staying together, of course, maybe the ability to actually have the crossover of the number 5 recruit on this team from that year versus the number 3 recruit on that team from the other year as well too. Those matchups just get a little less likely. So all the freshmen, the blue blood schools, like we're saying, you got Peterson at Kansas, you got Boozer at Duke, Caleb Wilson at North Carolina. I guess even Dembasta at BYU, it fits in schematically. Hey, it's not necessarily the name value school of the other ones, but I guess from a team pedigree standpoint, they were able to get there as well. So it's not like, he's a quarterback on a team that's a lower end team and maybe he's carrying the team, but it's not going to be able to compete when they need him to. Like, it seems like that team could actually, again, be just a really good competitive group of guys as well too, even with that addition of the top freshman talent. But you can see he does have a little mid-range game. Like, he's not necessarily going to dribble too much to get his looks. Is there a little Jabari Smith-ishness in that? Because Jabari Smith, of course, was a little limited in his dribbling. He did seem like he could, kind of 1-2 jab step, pull up dribble, and maybe there was going to be an evolution out of that where he was going to be a really, of course, effective off the dribble scorer. And it hasn't quite necessarily gone in that direction. But his ability, like, I don't want to say it's Carmelo, because again, Carmelo could score off of the jab step because he was just, his understanding of creating space was so good like that. So again, I'm not doubting Caleb Wilson as well too. But Melo could also take a guy off the dribble and then use his size to create space in the post and under the basket, or also step out and hit an outside jumper as well too. Whereas again, you kind of have maybe just, that's kind of what the limit is to the game as well too. So good shot making all the way around. But still, if you have a guy at one point who is a little bit more capable already off the dribble, do you bet, of course, on there is a floor there, and then yes, he can build off of that, or this guy has, the floor even without that. Like, is Caleb, I don't want to say, it's like a Kuminga, there's some Kuminga there as well too. I don't know if that's a pause, but his ability to get to the basket, kind of the athleticism, but you don't really want to see him dribble too much at this point early on. But I would say Caleb Wilson, again, even if he's not, doing a lot, is a little bit more comfortable at this stage maybe than Kuminga is at creating. And again, a little bit more consistent in the mid-range and in some of these face-up situations as well too. So Tiller, the center for Kansas, stepping out and hitting a three. Hey, yo, is he going to be a guy that we end up having on the watch list as well? Seems like he's been active in some of these highlights. But the rebounding thing is also pretty encouraging if you've got him kind of playing the four there as well. I don't know, you're just kind of a forward now at this point. Center, forward, guard is basically the spots. Is it center, wing, forward, guard? And maybe the forwards are a little kind of center, wing combo-ish. But he would definitely, of course, again, be more toward the taller end of the front court. The little spin, hey, yo, got the entry pass and then the one pivot fadeaway spinning shot from the elbow is very pure as well, too. So they, I guess, are winning this game against Kansas. Kansas is highly ranked at this point against North Carolina. We should say higher ranked. They were 19. North Carolina was 25. I guess we could double check the current rankings as well too to see where they fall. And North Carolina keeps winning as well too. So I imagine that they have continued to climb higher and higher. Attacking in transition. Of course, the athleticism on full display there. You don't want to get dunked on if you're the Kansas defender. And it's pretty close. So he's definitely a threat there. And active, always at least cutting toward the basket as well too. Again, you see him, he's cleaned up some offensive rebounds. There's a couple of times cutting in transition that the guy's been able to use him as an outlet. And the last time he got the foul, not quite able to get the dunk to go. But that time, the bailout pass from the baseline is able to get to him under the basket. And he's able to get the layup off of that as well too. So there is just a good IQ of him moving around and kind of being in the right spots as well too. I don't know how we feel about this, chat, because clearly, even with as talented as any of these guys are, we're not trying to sit here and brag, and at the end of the day everything goes back to Wembanyama. We're not trying to be that. But from a competitive standpoint as well too, it's easier if there's less good guys in the league to match up against Wembanyama. How are all these teams are going to have competitive guys? And now they're going to start stacking them with each other as well, too. Some of these guys are going to be doubling up. And other talented, like if Atlanta ends up in the top of the draft, and even if I guess that's an interesting one, because again, does Caleb Wilson have the vibe of a guy that's going to step in and maybe carry a team right away? He can clearly be very additive, whereas Peterson, You see with what Con Kneppel's doing from a scoring standpoint, like could Peterson be as effective from a scorer as Con Kneppel right now? And then, that on Atlanta, if Con Kneppel was on Atlanta, his guard skills, like, hey, yo, would they be a playoff team, chat? I guess, are they a playoff team record-wise at this point? I'm not sure. But Wilson, stat line-wise, he outperformed Peterson as well, too. So is there a little bit of that big game performer with Caleb Wilson in there? I don't know why we would, again, it's just, we're going to let the process play out. We'll let the highlights and the performances dictate themselves, pause, and whatever, takeaways we have from the guys' games, it is what it is. We can only be honest with, the way we interpret what we see. And, kind of the vibes, I guess, we get as well, too, from what these guys are, I guess the performances and just the styles of play on the court. But there is something interesting about Wilson that is starting to make me wonder where, again, I don't know how these rankings could necessarily play when we actually have to start stacking them up against each other and making calls. But again, if he's outperformed some of these guys and his consistency in the other games as well too is there, then I guess it's only a matter of time before we start admitting to ourselves maybe where it is. The other guys as well too are continuing to perform, and him at 4 is already sort of giving credit to, again, how good of a start of a season he has had. 13 rebounds. It's him and Boozer right there as well too. So they got Boozer, I guess, at 6'9", Wilson at 6'10", but Wilson at 215, Boozer at 250. So you see Boozer definitely much more of a, could Boozer be is Boozer Paolo 2.0? Hey, yo, I don't know. Was Paolo 12 rebounds a game at Duke? That does seem a little bit higher than maybe Paolo was. Paolo, of course, a little bit more front court focused as well. I guess, again, you do have Boozer at 5 assists a game. So it's not like he's not creating offense for this team and leading them. So, I know maybe Paolo, again, is a little bit more, I don't know, would you project him as more of a point guard in the league? Cooper, is he like a Cooper Flag Paolo hybrid? I don't know what we're allowed to say there along those lines. But the style of play of Flag could still create offense from the top of the key, but maybe you want kind of a point guard in the offense just in general to orchestrate everything greater. But again, Cooper Flag could still orchestrate stuff if you want to, and then he's going to be creating that individual offense for himself as well too. Or, Paolo, again, I guess, and, even Paolo to some degree is a guy that still you would look and say maybe needs a point guard at the end of the day. But also, like we were seeing in that Duke run, could definitely take over and run the team and, be the lead guy that they rely on. But it is, and again, we're just going back, rewatching some of the stuff from the first game here. It is a lot of him as the roll man early on, honestly, and that is effective of him creating out of that short roll, of course, scoring for himself, or you see, again, like we were mentioning, the 5 assists, him being an effective playmaker as well. So, like Wilson, still a little off the ball. I don't know if he was necessarily in the pick and roll man style the same way that Boozer was. You did see, like we were saying, Wilson being a little bit active with the cutting and his off-ball movement as well too. And Boozer is, like we were saying, definitely, of course, a sturdier player. And you can see he definitely uses that to his advantage. I guess we could see the individual matchups that he's having here against USC and, knowing when to, attack and when the smaller player is guarding him. But the bag is a lot of him, absorbing the contact and using that, getting to the line a couple of times as well too, but using that to create the space around the basket and get some of those easier looks as well. I think if we went and double checked the percentages, he does do okay. Oh, chat. Hey, yo, this might be honestly a first. This might be a Tankathon first. Tankathon history for Cameron Boozer. Shout out. He might be the first guy that's never had a stat weakness on here. I mean, this is, for the real Tankathon degenerates out there that are checking this stuff every day, or if you're tuning into the live stream and checking it out by default because we're on there, then I mean, this is a rare sighting. Cam Boozer, a true unicorn. I mean, this is again only projecting out of the stats and stuff like that, but to not have a single stat that's even a little bit in that lane of, hey, there's something here. It's like, okay, again, it's not to say that this is an element of his game that even could be a weakness. It's just for whatever reason, statistically in the projectables or in the current stats, it's not necessarily at the level to where you would want it to be. I mean, to go to an easy example, if we had Luka's stats on Basketball Reference sort of color coded, his 3-point percentage might not be necessarily like a positive 3-point percentage, but it would still be a guy, of course, that you would want taking outside jumpers, and that would still be a very effective part of his game. But yeah, Boozer is, you can see, so maybe just an early assumption, the most well-rounded. And again, that can maybe go to the size, pause, and the safeness of his style of game as well too. But I don't know if Caleb Williams is going to be like pushed around, Like, would you be worried about that from a direct comparison standpoint? Where DeBasta, honestly, at 210, DeBasta, and again, just reading off the Tankathon listing as well here, it does, I guess, hey, shout out Peterson, a little bit of a sturdier guard as well too. But I think DeBasta's play style is a little bit more like Boozer, where he can take a guy into the post as well too. So, like we said, we did see Caleb Wilson with some of those fades and some of those, hey, catch fade chat. He was, some of those fadeaways and some of those moves from those post like setups. But I don't know if he was necessarily, like absorbing contact and backing guys down and posting up in that type of environment as well too. But this is Peterson versus Brown, Mikal Brown, Louisville. So they got the point guard from Louisville here at number 6 going to Dallas. So speaking of Cooper Flagg having a point guard to have help with the offensive functionality there, that would be a pick that definitely reinforces that. And I don't know if that's just like sometimes, it's not to say that they don't need a point guard, and not to say that again he might not be best player available as well too. But could you be a little so scarred by the D'Angelo Russell experience where it's like, okay, we just have to go in a different direction than that? Hey, like it just was so bad that you just have to. It's like, okay, I guess there's all kinds of examples of going in the other direction, but the offensive coach, and now you have to have a defensive coach. Like, we have to go from D'Angelo Russell. Let's just get a sustainable point guard in there. That, again, maybe is just the right pick in general, if this is the way it were to play out. But because of maybe it's just the hypothetical of what the team could have been this year, there is something to that kind of wing defense lineup that they could have had. The Rockets, of course, and they, Kyrie, when he's healthy, he's going to be in the lineup, so it's not like everybody in the lineup is like Houston. But, with Houston getting that tall lineup sort of buzz in the offseason, and, with the way it's starting to form and be kind of a scary team now as well, too. Dallas is not too far from having a version of that. And, again, Kyrie is a guy that you just know has to be out there. Van Fleet, before his injury, of course, was a guy that was in that case for the Rockets as well, too, but wasn't necessarily the end of game lock, the same way that Kyrie was. It's like, okay, there's definitely a version of a team where maybe another guy is really impacting the game defensively or hitting threes or something, and, you have to be playing him at the end of the game. And, I mean, you could be, I guess, like we're saying, subbing out Kyrie from that defensive aspect, but, because he's so good offensively, again, in the late game shot making, it's Kyrie. He's going to be on the court. It is what it is. So, I don't know, Kyrie and Mikal Brown, I don't know, can they play together as well, too? But, again, it would be fun if they were, I think, able to build out, and I think every team, it is what it is. It's 2025. You're going to want wings, and you're going to want the, 3-and-D style players at this point as well, too. But, I don't know, and the point guard thing is so rare as well, too, that if you're drafting a guy that's going to be a point guard, and, it's a little thing as well, too. But, again, Chris Paul was, the 3rd overall pick in that draft and probably should have been 2nd as well. And Darren Peterson, close chat. Hey, Darren Williams, I guess the spelling is not even really that similar as well. But Darren Williams was still a really, really good NBA player, and I think the peak of his powers. I was the best version of Darren Williams ever as good as the best version of Chris Paul? Probably not, but it's not indefensible with how it played out. To be like, yeah, maybe there's a version of it 4 times out of 10 that could be close or something. I don't know, but I guess it's to some degree maybe there's a version of it that's close. Yeah, I guess not close now. What are we talking about, Chad? With all due respect to Darren Williams, it's Chris Paul over here. But yeah, either way, if you're taking a point guard in that kind of 6 to 12 range, I know that's probably the perfect range where like all the great point guards have gone, but like I don't know if Shea like counts for this example. And I guess was he maybe the 13th pick as well too if we cut it off at 12, but he is more of a he's more of a 2-guard lead scorer type guy who again is a lead guard usage guy who is running the offense because of that, but would not necessarily again comp him to Chris Paul in terms of style of play. Who knows from a legacy standpoint, I guess, which list he's gonna ultimately end up on. We'll see. But the again, the type of player that they could get, we'll see what their options are here at this point. Imagine Caleb Wilson, the Duke and the North Carolina guy, would be kind of crazy. I mean, the Duke combo, get Boozer and Cooper Flag, would be almost cheating as well too. Just clearly the league rigging it as well. I mean, Peterson electric from 3. I mean, Peterson is definitely checking every box watching his highlights, and you again see the numbers as well. It is basically perfect at this point. It is almost in the too good to be true category. I don't want to put it there, pause, because at the end of the day, a player playing well is a player playing well. But sometimes these guards, the scoring guards, sometimes that can just be a college level thing. And if you're a freshman just entering college right away and being able to put up that type of performance, then of course you have to give him credit for how quickly you're able to adjust and how well those guys are playing that early on. But regardless, I'm not saying that I'm not confident in Peterson's ability to adjust to the NBA, but I just want to continue. He's going to be the guy I'm going to have to watch the most, because I just feel like, again, that type of guard player is the riskiest as well too. Again, because he's, it is what it is. So good. You don't put him into necessarily the same category of a guard player like Trey Johnson, but and not to oversimplify it as well too, and just look at it in a certain lens. And, I guess with all due respect to Trey Johnson, we're only 17 games into his NBA career as well, but there is a sort of what if Trey Johnson is really, really good? Like that kind of is Darren Peterson. So again, shout out. That's, Trey Johnson can be a really great player if he ends up developing the skills that he needs. His particular set of skills. If he ends up developing them, he will again be super impactful. You imagine, but because of a players like that kind of usage and their role on the team, it does get a little bit weird with if they are not being the most efficient player. How, of course, are they able to impact? I don't want to say Jordan Poole, because, again, I think Jordan Poole is a little bit smaller than Darren Peterson as well. So that is, from a versatility, switchability standpoint, it's going to have its little bit of effect that is going to matter. But the guard scoring package that a guy like Poole, I guess maybe even Peterson would be a little bit more diverse of a scorer than Poole, but that type of role in the offense, I think, is the type of role that he was going to play. Like, is Peterson, I guess, is he, and not just to make the easy comp, again, because he's at the top of his game right now and one of the best guards in the league, but is he a Shea-like player? Because that is statistically what it is just kind of looking like on paper, that 30-point-a-game, 2-guard type player who maybe he is a little bit more 3-point oriented. I guess he is taking 8 a game. So, are we saying like Devin Booker for Peterson? Is Peterson like a more efficient Devin Booker? I guess, could Devin Booker have put up 30 a game if he was taking, Peterson's taking 18 shots. That's per 36, I guess. He's 31 per 36. Okay. We need to give him his credit here. He's 21. Still, he's 21 on 12 shots a game. I mean, again, 60% from the field is 60% for the field. It is outstanding, and I guess I forget now who we were going to look up. It is what it is. Oh, well. But yeah, like we were saying, Peterson, his scoring ability is probably a little bit more efficient at this point. But, and is it only 2 games played? What's going on? Has he been hurt as well? Here, wait. Let's look. I guess no, he hasn't had 2 games played because we have more than 2 games on the YouTube here. We'll double check and see if we have anything going on. Oh, Darren Peterson's injury. Oh, chat. Tough for the number. But who knows? Maybe for his stock. You never know. If it is him being out, actually not a good thing for him to be hurt, but he played so well again in those first couple of games that his stats are going to be crazy if he just leaves them like that. So I don't know if that would be the best decision long term for the future. But again, if Darren Peterson didn't play a game for the rest of the year, in 2 games, would he not be the number 1 overall pick? Yeah, so wait, I guess the Louisville game was listed as an exhibition game. So I guess, yeah, it's not listed on the game log here. So that's why we do have more games on the YouTube than we do on the game log. Okay, Detective Rem is in the house. But would a performance against Green Bay and then North Carolina be enough, I guess, to be the number 1 overall pick? Okay, chat, that is more interesting. And Basketball Reference, a little deceiving sometimes as well, too. 31 per 36, 21 a game. I mean, ultimately, the efficiency is there, and it's still similar to everybody else here. I guess if we got per 36 pulled up. Realistically, again, kind of similar for everybody. But he would, I guess, lead in scoring as well. You've got Wilson at 20.6, Boozer at 21.1, and then Peterson at 21.5. Boozer 21, 9, and 4. Dembasta 19, 8, and 6. And then Amit. So maybe we have to queue up some Amit highlights next and see where he is at. Are they going to just... Is the TV listening to us? Is the algorithm listening? Do they know... Can they sense what they... Oh, I thought I saw something from Tennessee. Wait. Oh, what did I just click on? Oh, well. I might have messed it up. Is this Boozer? Oh, top dunks of the college basketball season? I mean, that would definitely be fun. But I don't know if that is the mission that we are on right now. Wait a second. Side mission? Top 100 plays of the decade? Oh, I don't know. Probably not for tonight. Maybe the summer, chat. Check back in summer 2026 when there's no games on. Side mission. Top 100 plays of the decade will be on the schedule. Okay, wait. We're actually going to have to search this out here and see what we get. Shout out to Pettiford. It queued up some Pettiford highlights. So he might be a sleeper. Is that YouTube letting us know early? Hey, pay attention to Pettiford. He is going to be a major player. But for now, since Amnet is at the top of some of these boards, we'll just go ahead and get some of these highlights out of the way as well, too. So here we got Amit versus Boozer as well, chat. Literally all of these guys got some version of a matchup against each other. So that's great as well, too. And it, again, does seem like they all kind of rose to the occasion. So there is just a fun competitiveness that these guys have and a fun ability. They were kind of all in the U.S. stage together with like some of those international teams. I don't know if there's that, and with the AAU stuff now and all the familiarity there, I don't know if there is kind of that competitiveness edge that is maybe, I don't want to say returning, but the buddy stuff, of course, was seeming like it was more popular than not. And not even buddy, but just, it's like, okay, is there the moment where you guys do sort of become competitors as well, too, on the court? And it does seem like that is sort of reigniting in the league a little bit as well, too. And just all of these guys, being so good and having to get to such a level of play to even, get wins and have good performances against some of these teams is a part of that as well, too. It just kind of naturally is going to, but it's just kind of naturally bring it out of some of these guys as well. But you see, speaking of off the dribble, chat, we've got Amnet with a little nice baseline kind of work around the double team. Boozer kind of fending him off a little bit there. Good kind of help defense from Boozer getting in the way, but still able to navigate and get the little pull up. So he definitely has a go-to move. Early on, the first couple of highlights, it is the same type of spin. So hopefully it's not like 9 to 10 minutes of just him making the same post move over and over again. That could be a little concerning, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So at the end of the day, you're trying to win college games as well too. If you need to score points, and if it works, I mean, it's going to be a major part of your offense. It is what it is. But, and what's this, chat? In the highlights, they've got the sideline reporters sitting down directly next to Rick Barnes. I guess this is also an exhibition game, Ben versus Duke. Oh, another unofficial matchup between the... That's what... See, these teams all cheated like that. I guess you can do that a little bit in basketball. Whoa, Boozer with a crazy block. He literally just took it right away from the defender. Or from the offensive player. So there is a two-way thing with Boozer as well, too, that you see in a lot of these guys. But Boozer can kind of protect the rim a little bit. There is that if he continues to project out as a guy that could be versatile in the front court as a 5 or even a creator there as well, he might have some defensive abilities a little bit. I guess I don't want to call him Svengoon. Svengoon would be a crazy comp, but I don't know why I'm getting Svengoon vibes. Maybe because I just, have liked watching Svengoon's game here to start the season as well. And Ayo chat, are we just not watching this Lakers-Clippers game? I'm just waiting for it to start up on Peacock. Maybe Peacock's only got one game tonight. It is what it is. Yeah, I think we're probably just missed like the whole first quarter of Lakers-Clippers. Let's switch over to the NBA app here real quick and see if we can get something queued up and ready to go. Actually, should we take one more quick break and then get the game situated, and then we'll be back, chat. Last stretch of the show on a Tuesday night here, Thanksgiving week. And, of course, we are thankful for everybody tuning in tonight. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. REMINGTOM Pod continues right after this. Oh, wait, did we hit the mute again? There we are. Okay, wait, we're back. Testing 1, 2, 3. I don't know where we got cut off there, but shout out either way. I think we were going to diss track the NBC crew, but maybe the mute was the sign to not do that. So we'll just go ahead and keep talking about the draft chat because we were focusing positively over there. So that could be the way. I mean, we could just keep going down the list of guys. I don't know if we could do a full first round watch, right now, but hey, every time we queue up these highlights, we just get more and more encouraged about the potential prospects of the talent entering the league this year. So it is definitely going to be special, and we're definitely looking forward to, seeing ultimately what happens. I don't want to say that, the draft lists have definitely been, there has been that randomness, and guys have, of course, moved up and down, and new names have entered in, and some guys have maybe not been at the same level entering the draft as they were going into the season. But this feels like more that these names, of course, are definitely going to be there all year. It's just really going to be, what is this order? And again, you do assume that they're all going to be good, but like we see this year, I mean, there's even different levels to the year one thing, of course, is just that instant satisfaction of getting that performance right away. Of course, long term, we'll see how the guys are able to impact their different franchises. But, Con Knuppel versus VJ Edgecombe versus Dylan Harper, all of them have shown really impressive things so far. And not to say that the Spurs would go back and draft Con Knuppel over Dylan Harper. Hey, I wouldn't even do that at this point. I'm just committed to the, it's obviously not a bit, but I'm just committed to the bit of having Dylan Harper on the team at this point. It sounds more terrifying, Dylan Harper than Con Knuppel. I'm not sure. The nip slip himself is definitely showing him, definitely proven himself, again, a very impactful NBA player. But it does seem like one of these guys, and this is definitely a hot take that you can make in November before a draft class and not hold yourself to it, a couple months later. But it does seem like one of these guys is going to be like a major guy. I mean, there's just no way that there's not this much talent in the draft, and one of them is super impactful. And, again, are we saying is there going to be an MVP in this top 6? I don't know, but you think even, like that Paolo, Chet, Jabari draft where those top 3 guys were all sort of debated for the number 1 pick and all had their cases and all had their time in which they could have been at that spot. And of course, by the end, it did seem like Paolo was more of the quote unquote franchise type guy. You did have a safety bet in, what did we just queue up, Chaz? This is old UCLA versus Kentucky highlights. I mean, this is a great game. Shout out. Lonzo versus D'Angelo. De'Aaron Fox is, about as timeless a classic a game as you could get. Really, honestly, one of the great rewatchable games. It is what it is. But I don't know if it is on the watch list for tonight. Here we go. Amit 19-9. Maybe we already are flipping him and Brown. So maybe instead of a top 6, are we seeing maybe more of a top 4? It could be that. I don't know, level of competition as well, too. We don't know, I guess, here, all of the teams that Tennessee has played. Oh, some turnover. It's just Mercer, Northern Kentucky, Northern Florida, Rice, Tennessee State, Rutgers. So they have had a little bit of an easier start. That is for sure. Again, maybe some exhibition games in there against some good names. Duke being one of them. But actually to start the regular season, definitely some matchups that could favor him having some good statistical performances. Again, you see the rebounding impact there as well, too. So all these guys able to get stats in multiple ways. 3.5 turnovers a game in the NBA is maybe not ideal. A little lower on the percentages than some of the other guys, but it is honestly just a little bit more normal than it is, DeBasta and Wilson and all these Peterson and all these guys shooting 60% to start their careers. So again, he's 27-10 or 25-10 in the NBA. Is still a pretty productive forward. There's some recherche early on. maybe he's a little bit more creating off the dribble and maybe a little taller than Richerche as well too. But he does have kind of, maybe he's like a little bit of like a Richerche Jalen Johnson hybrid. Hey, yo. I don't know what that insinuates, but that would be kind of a lankier, creator off the dribble, but can still kind of pull up from three. He can create off the dribble, but it not is always going to seem. Kuzma? Is he Kuzma, chat? Is Amit Kuzma? Do we have to pull up the ringer here and see if they have any comps for these guys? But I could definitely start seeing it more of, like we're saying, associating Caleb Williams into the top 4, and then at some point, as a byproduct of his association, do we have even an argument for him at number 1? Like we're saying at this point with Peterson's 2 games being just a good snapshot of what his skill set could be, then maybe he has, at this point with the sample size, locked in the number 1 pick. But if there is a debate amongst the other guys as well too, again, I don't know why Wilson's name wouldn't be right there, because the physicals, you can't just take him off the table for that. That would be an easy way to just say, well, these guys are taller, these guys are more switchable, there's a little bit more positional versatility here, but he is that. And it is high school pedigree, the recruiting number is basically the same as those other guys as well too. It's not like his draft stock has just risen based on some exhibition performances and stuff. It's still that carryover pedigree as well. So it's not like he's not living up to the hype the same way that the other guys are. And again, his stats have maybe even been a little bit better in the games. So maybe the other game that we saw was a exhibition as well. But yeah, his performance against Peterson is definitely going to be a goodwill game. And Peterson was good in that game as well too. So we cannot necessarily, take it away from him as a performance. But Dembasta versus UConn, this is Dembasta versus number 3 in the nation. And early on, UConn in the highlight reruns is winning pretty decisively. And you wonder if that is going to be the recipe. Well, I guess you wonder, we know what happens. But, if that is the recipe for the rest of the game. Dembasta struggling a little bit earlier on with some of the shots. He does have the moves, but maybe, and again, we're just really, really dabbling early in the YouTube highlights here, where there's still so much season to watch and so many times our opinions will change, I'm sure. But maybe Wilson does have better, a little bit better touch, a little bit better jump shot than Dembasta. I don't know if the percentages are an easy way to look at that as well too. Again, Dembasta's percentages are good enough that it's still kind of all in the same conversation, where it is still an elite-ish level. And you see him kind of picking it up here in the second half as well too of these highlight reel. But UConn has a much more sizable lead at that point, and you don't know if it is a little bit credited to game flow as well. But he is getting to the free throw line, so I'm sure that is going to help get into rhythm. And just in general, he's at 7 a game. So again, that physicality, I'm sure, is going to be something in the NBA. Does it translate right away? Who knows how the refs, of course, are going to give him that, give him those whistles earlier on. But he does kind of bring BYU back here a little bit. He's got it 66-73. The clutch jumper, 4 minutes left, 68-75. So even when the UConn defense is locking in, he still is keeping that ramped up performance going. Oh, until he misses at the free throw line. Kind of clutch. That would have cut it to 4 there as well too. Oh, and there's that drop step we saw on Instagram that was pretty sick late in the game. Kind of closing in. Definitely impactful. The 3 as well too, as he starts to fire shots late. Hey, yo. I guess what was the score at the end of that one? We don't have a score here as well, but he did end up with an overall pretty good stat line. Actually, it ended up being his highest scoring game of the season. So he did struggle early on. I guess we didn't get like a box score snapshot at some point from the Fox broadcast. Be like, oh, Dembasta 1 for 4 to start or something like that. But some of those late shot, not fourth quarter, but, end of second half firing away moments definitely brought the percentages and the performance back up. But you could see the display of skills as well too. Again, maybe a little bit better of a driver, but yeah, he is definitely, a guy that, again, is going to be interesting to see with these other wings as well, too. And Boozer maybe just being even in his own position group category as well, too, is going to make him interesting to evaluate because of that potential centerness, which is just fun as well, too. If you can have a guy that can play the five, it makes Paolo more interesting for us in that type of conversation for guys that we'd want to build teams around. And not to say that, I guess Tatum could play like the five if you want him to. He's definitely gotten stronger and more dominant as a player as well, too. And he could have a little bit of a LeBron type physical, he just kind of continues to get bigger and stronger over the course of his career and moves into a different phase athletically as time goes on. And I guess, we'll see, obviously, how the recovery and stuff from this injury works in with that as well, too. But you wouldn't probably ideally want him running the five. And maybe it's defensively as well, too. He is a good perimeter defender against those other wings and holding up there. So maybe you wouldn't want him necessarily protecting the basket and being the last line of defense there as well. Though Boozer maybe is actually a guy that could hold up a little bit better in some of those in the paint situations. Who knows against Wembanyama, obviously. We got to bring him up. It is what it is. Again, everything goes back to Wembanyama. But Boozer is more capable, I would assume, projectively there. Just a little bit. But, yeah. We do have, I guess, a little bit of some defensive highlights here from Dembasta as well, too. Some of the guards, I don't know, a little slower foot speed than maybe we were hoping as well. Do these guys keep getting by him? Do we walk away from tonight's highlight reel and just like, wait a second, is Dembasta 4 and Caleb Wilson's 3? At what point does that happen as well, too? He did comp himself to Tracy McGrady, which that alone makes me... Oh, there's the stat check. So he was 2 for 7 at one point in the game. Percentage-wise, that is obviously a little bit lower than 8 for 14, but, ripped off some shots there and was able to bring that back up. But, yeah, he does get driven by a lot and takes some weird angles as well, too. So maybe you could coach some of the closeout lanes a little bit differently. But he shuffles around on defense and, oh, there we go. There he gets the steal. Gets in front of the defender. But on some of these perimeter stuff, you do see the guard kind of getting by him a little bit. And I don't know if he does get a lot of... He's kind of just like runs by the defender every time. Not necessarily... If he's going to get a body on the offensive player, it might be a foul. But there is still a degree to getting in the wayness that you have to have and cut. I guess you got to cut off and drive a little bit as well, too. It doesn't seem like he's taking a good enough angle to necessarily cut off the drive. So, again, I don't know if that's coaching or if there's a little bit of something there as well, too, that would have to be evaluated in his process. And, again, UConn is also a really, really good team, really, really good defensive team, tough matchup. So the odds that you're going to put up a little bit of okay tape against them is maybe not the most surprising thing in the world as well, too. But is this another exhibition? Because this is Peterson versus Amit. So this might be AI, honestly. Do we have AI just cooking up highlights for these guys? Because I don't know how all of these guys played exhibition games. Is this high school? Oh, this might be high school. I mean, shout out. I'm sure the draft evaluators are taking advantage of all of the opportunities that they have to, evaluate their basketball talent. But Highland School versus Prolific Prep, maybe not for us, chat. Maybe not for us. Amit, oh, the defense gets the steal. The handle, chat. Can he keep it in bounds? I don't know. But in terms of pedigree, that would definitely be one of the high school games that we would have to definitely maybe see what happens in that one. But we got a little 90-second highlight reel versus North Kentucky, so we might as well see this one. And, yeah, he is kind of a little bit of a, like we're saying, lankier, off the, like a herkier, jerky kind of driver guy as well, too. Decent vision, nice pass into the wing from across the court. So keeping his head up into the post there as well too. There is a commitment to kind of running the offense. Ooh, nice little three-pointer. I mean, he's cooking Northern Kentucky in this one. It is what it is. But you definitely do see his bag is a little bit more limited than some of the other guys in the draft. So I don't know. Is this just like us kind of skimming through an album? Like, it's okay if the highlights just don't quite, hit in the first watch, then we can always just watch another guy and find that first set of, find that first highlights that are just like, oh, this is the guy right here. This is the one you have to keep an eye on from a drafting standpoint. Maybe he will, obviously translate in a great way to the NBA. So we're going to move and see, I guess, Mikael Brown versus Kentucky here, a Louisville Classic rivalry, Louisville-Kentucky battle. Of course, already happened this year early on. Both teams 2-0 at the time of the matchup and in the top 12. So the stakes and the talent are definitely there for, both sides again this year. Brown off the ball, pick and roll with the pass back to the, off the ball screener guy is good running the offense. You see that kind of little bit of an on ball, off the ball mix. Again, he does have a higher assist percentage, so I was kind of assuming he'd be a little bit more on ball point guard-esque as well too, kind of like we were saying earlier. But you see him setting up off the ball and kind of running around some of these screens as well. That time, that little kind of drive as far as you can toward the basket, then spin back kind of. We'll call it the Kyrie fade. I almost want to call it the Kyrie fade because as a guard, I feel like he kind of popularized that move and taking advantage of it. So, again, the setting up off the ball and just kind of ability to work through the offense is fun to see as well, too, from a point guard type of character. And a nice dribble up into three. The very comfortable into the pull-up footwork, you got to say. I mean, DeBasta's going to move to 6, chat. Hey, yo, Brown is. You see what I mean? Sometimes you just watch the highlights. Okay, you see the perimeter jumper, you see the vision. I do kind of fall for a combo guard type of player as well too, who does have a good mix of skills. I want to say I was trying to think of who he reminded me of just watching him, and this might be a random poll, chat. I don't know. Again, he is kind of a newer player in the league, though he hasn't necessarily maybe gotten as many minutes as his lottery drafting talent area would expect, but a little Kobe Buffkin. I don't know if that's, we're not trying to say, we're just trying to encourage here shout out Kobe Buffkin. We're trying to encourage everybody, but there is that kind of head back on the drives, type of situation that he does have going where you can kind of see him kicking into that second gear on those drives, that kind of stop and go method. And then just him always kind of curling around these screens as well, too, is a way that they would utilize him. Even, kind of the way he hangs in the air around going for the basket. There is the way the legs are kicking out and flailing around. Seems like there's some similarities there as well, too. Again, you can obviously take the style of somebody and whatever your skill level is, that's what's important. So Kobe Buffkin's a great player, but I'm not necessarily saying he's going to be Kobe Buffkin in the NBA. I'm just saying there is some similarities. I think if you were watching Kobe Buffkin highlights and if you were watching Mikael Brown highlights, and fortunately for him, this is a pod where we would love to see as much Kobe Buffkin highlights as possible. Kobe Buffkin's our guy. Shout out. Bring him to San Antonio. Give him a chance, Chad. He needs a team like San Antonio to develop his skills. How many Michigan guys can the Spurs save? Can we bring back Sauce Castillo on the Spurs? I don't know whose minutes he can take. McDermott's not still there. I was going to say, can we trade McDermott for Sauce Castillo? I'd make that trade. Make that trade a lot, Chad. Hey, just for the vibes. It is what it is. Though, McBucket's obviously, great nickname, great player, legendary sort of character in a way himself, but maybe not quite in the same way. So, Chad, they finally decided LeBron has to play at some point tonight. It is what it is. He finally told him, okay, I'm ready to go. Luka, James Harden, None of the stars matter, chat. None of the stars matter. James Harden's veteran time in the league, he'll never get. They'll never hold off a game for 45 minutes for James Harden just warm up and get ready. But for LeBron, chat, anything. Hey, yo. Special suites, in buildings. I don't know. Is there ownership in the team? Who knows what LeBron has at this point. But he does have a nice late LA Lakers start time. And you get Kawhi back as well, too. Is this the first game for Kawhi? Oh, chat. Hey, yo. We might have to lock in here and see. LeBron versus Kawhi has been a little bit of a difficult matchup for the Lakers here. Though, of course, the Luka piece to that is different. And I don't even remember if they played the Clippers after the Luka trade. I mean, I don't even remember. That trade was so crazy. I don't even think it was right on the deadline. That's how crazy the trade was. They got it in earlier, but still, there was, way less than the season left. They might have already played him a couple times at that point. And then the matchups as well, too, and they played in the season. I don't remember exactly what we had there. So, this is clearly a chance for them to shift that dynamic now. And not to say that the Clippers have, owned the Lakers in that sense, but at least on the court-wise, I don't know if the Lakers would have ever been thrilled to see the Clippers in a playoff series. That's for sure. And if they got a win over the Clippers in a playoff series that I'm forgetting about, then so be it. It is what it is, and I'm not saying it was easy. But I'm just saying that when they were in the regular season at the peak of their powers, a lot of time the Clippers teams were the ones that were winning. So we'll see if, with Reeves as well too, ascended it to a different level, if LeBron just has too much. Does LeBron have too much firepower around him? Is really the question we have always been asking for this Lakers team. Is the Lakers too loaded? JJ Redick, pause. Is the JJ Redick the coaching advantage to separate? With the Clippers being this bad, though, that makes me think, is Van Gundy going to want to go somewhere else? I mean, he was legitimately making over that defense, and he is a guy that I think can be really impactful for a team trying to win a title if he still wants to see what is best of his available options for a coaching team. So I know the Clippers might not be, like Ty Lue. They might not be excited to just give up some infrastructure pieces that they think are pretty good. And if they were able to remake the roster, have those good pieces in place to develop those guys into the proper type of team. But maybe he could also be one of the, unofficial sacrificial lambs of the situation as well, too. Who knows? But introduce chat LeBron, I guess not for the first time in the season. Is this his home debut, though? Because did they play the Jazz in Utah? And then I don't know if they've played back since with LeBron. Did LeBron get introduced first? Hey, yo. I don't know if that's anticlimactic or what, but you'd think for the first time in LA, season 23, number 23, LeBron James. You think they would just save it for the end, chat, pause. And he'd be the last guy introduced. But no, I guess Luka is earned that right, obviously, at this point. And even still, first is a little crazy for LeBron. It is what it is. But maybe they just do the forward, center, guard sort of situation just to keep it easy on the announcer. Just read left to right, and you'll get it. Maybe that is all the instructions that they were able to give him at this point. But we keep just, I guess, the Basta highlights are the ones that keep auto playing. It is what it is. And the Jabari Smith thing is a little interesting / scary / encouraging as well, too, because he just got paid. He's also a really good player. But he is, again, a little bit of a 1-2 kind of post guy as well, where a couple of dribbles, probably not actually going to, I'm not going to say he's not going to use them to create space. Hey, yo, that's crazy, because that drop step is vicious. He is actually a good with those couple of dribbles in the post, but still only a couple of dribbles. And there's that drop step again, so that is pretty vicious. Like, that is a go-to thing that he has. So, yeah, that might be the closest call. Because I don't even know, like we were saying, again, what to do with Peterson at this point. But I was like, we really have to just lock in on. We might actually have to watch the high school stuff and make an opinion that way if the college game resume is not added to. Because, again, the efficiency just really makes me think, like, if you're still at 52, 41% or whatever, and it's all good efficiency, then it's good. But what does it look like if he's not just on an absolute heater like he is right now, shooting 60% from the field? But yeah, Wilson is going to be a name that I think is more heavily associated in this conversation than we are seeing right now. But yeah, Dembasta is definitely not going to give up his spot easily. That's for sure. So, Lakers in the all purple, chat, the yellow, the yellow in season cup tournament court is honestly a bit. It's a bit much, chat. It is a bit much. Honestly, that's not. I mean, obviously, that's not an honestly right there because it's just a bit much in general. I don't think I have to say honestly, but hey, yo, it is a wild looking court. Honestly, this sort of baseline view makes it a little bit more palatable for some reason. Maybe just because it looks like a normal basketball court from right there. But yeah, we are back to the old school announcer broadcast angle, and there is the basketball court, chat. It is what it is. What a contrast right now on the TVs. We got the purple Jazz court and the gold Lakers court side by side. I don't know which team that would be, representing both all together. But, hey, yo, either way, both fan bases can still feel pretty good. And then hopefully, everybody else is entertained by everything else as well, too. But the Lakers hit the three early on, and then Chris Dunn responds with the early two. But yeah, 3-point for the Lakers, ball movement, quick decision making is going to be important if the defense is locked in like days of old as well to try to keep everything, at the peak levels. But 2 to 5, Harden finally gets the ball, bringing it up. So he will, at this point, I guess, take over the team. It is what it is. But the him and Kawhi dynamic for 2025, of course, will be fun. They actually run a little bit of a play there. Was that a dribble handoff from Harden to Kawhi and then to Chris Dunn on the wing for three? And Chris Dunn actually got it to go. So Ty Lue is back as well too, chat. I mean, what is actually their record? Are they at 2? Oh, they're 5-12. I don't know what I said earlier with them with 2 wins, but regardless, not too far off. They have 5 wins. So I don't know if it's even possible for them to make up at this point. They can't break the regular season record, obviously, with 12 losses. I may have been saying wins as well, too. 12 losses, 5 wins is the correct distribution there. But in terms of them, of course, getting back on track of being a playoff team and ripping off maybe 12 in a row, just kind of casually undo what they did in terms of losing, then that could be possible. And maybe they were thinking that with just getting Kawhi back in general. But you're going to need James Harden to be a little bit crazy from three-pointer as well, too, and be locked in there. Defensively, matched up on Rui. Rui from the post. Oh, the baseline, the spin, not able to get it to go. The ball rims out, but it was a good look, good patience, good job of navigating the double team. Oh! Did Harden have Jackson Hayes slipping a little bit? I think he might have. Is that yellow court a banana peel, chat? Oh, it might be tonight. Hey, yo, if James Harden's out here being crafty, somebody's going to get got. It is what it is. Can we bet that? James Harden will drop somebody tonight? I think that might be on the poly market at some point. Was that Reeves right back down the other way responding? I don't know if this is a needs response situation. But the Luka versus, what do we got? Luka, who Hayes? Who was their center, chat? Hey, yo. We know. Oh, Ayton. Where's Ayton at? Where is our guy Ayton? Ayton load management, pause, in 2025? We've got him resting some games? And he was on the sideline there? He could have taken a timeout and challenged that, chat? Oh, I don't know. But, I mean, it would have been tough to win it, but maybe just to make them look at it. Make them nervous, chat. Just make the refs sweat a little bit. Could have been fun. So, Luka nearly had a triple-double this year. Going back triple-doubles for the career. I don't know if he is. I don't think he's quite there yet. But he is at basically a 9-9 right now for assists and rebounds. So, that is really making a little bit of a dent in the area as well, too. But I don't even know what highlights we have on for over here now. I think we're just kind of lost in the YouTube autoplay. It is what it is. We're just going through the underground now of drafting prospects. I think really trying to mine up some you know, I'm not trying to be problematic, but you know, really trying to uncover some potentially valuable hidden prospects as well too. You know, that's going to be the balance. Again, the top of the draft is stacked and it does have a lot of great names, but you can find the value and you just got to, you know, do the best job of scouting in that middle area of the draft. And it'll be one of the top guys will be the elite guys, and then one of those middle guys, like we're saying as well too, will, of course, you would assume, step up and be a little bit more than that. But three-pointer now by the Clippers. Hey, yo. Focus on this a little bit here for the end of the first quarter. And they have jumped to a little bit of a lead on the Sling TV. But there's the Luka 3 to catch us up to the ESPN. So 14-15. And, hey, yo, I'm not even thinking about the Luka Clippers dynamic as well, too. I'm thinking more of Dallas Luka versus the Clippers in the playoffs. But, I mean, regardless, it's still Luka versus this team. So maybe we'll see if that Luka destroys this team factor carries over. Like we were saying, you know, LeBron, I don't know if we go look at his stats versus the Clippers for the career. It wouldn't be the right way to look at it. It'd have to be on the Lakers versus the Clippers. I mean, there he is missing the 3 right there. He just, it's not his best matchup, this team. But Luka loves playing this team. Luka cooks this team. He destroys it every year, eliminates them from the playoffs, breaks their hopes, and Kawhi with a 3, trying to silence the crowd. Hey, yo, we already forgot he was out there, chat. You know, he's going to pick his spots. He's going to probably assert himself more, as you would assume, over the game goes. And this being what his first game back anyways is going to probably be about a, you know, chill of a warm-up for that type of stuff as you got. But Reeves called for the offensive foul? Oh, chat. We've got a defender with the arm on the elbow, and Reeves somehow is going to get an offensive foul. I don't know if they're challenging and reviewing, but they may have to, chat. They may have to, because that one was looking mighty brutal. So, hey, yo, do we have to end off with something really random here? This is the last thing of we just wanted to look at this on our own, and we might as well just do it here. So right before we got on I did see this. I mean, sometimes, you know, the internet just knows how to recommend you things. It is what it is. But yeah, apparently Billboard, it told me that Billboard recommend. Oh, is that the number 1 right there, chat? I don't know. I don't know if that was a spoiler or not. But it is the 50 best album covers of all time. Hey, yo, so we got to scroll through this real quick and see what we get here. I guess all projects we're thankful for, all great transcendent artwork that we're thankful for. Astroworld at 50. Travis Scott. Shout out, of course. I don't know if this will be his only cover on here. Only 50 covers. So it'll be pretty limited. Definitely his most stand-out-ish cover, though the aesthetic, of course, of the Rodeo Utopia covers are pretty cool and connective there. Though, again, I don't know, maybe from a photography standpoint, like the lighting is really great on those. I mean, again, they are cool visually, but there is just a lot going on in this one that makes it stand out in another way. Definitely a little bit more unique like that as well, too. It does definitely, I think, lend itself for a Travis Scott project into the world-building vibe of the album a little bit more. You know, I guess you could, again, extrapolate some meaning out of his poses and out of just the personality of the projects and what they mean and about him and his rise, or, you know, his just wherever state he's at in his career and what he's talking about, the messaging there being more personal, and, you know, the album cover being more about him. But again, I think this is a good representation of his work. If this is the one, for sure. What do you like, a Jack Boys cover? Pause. Is gonna be better. I don't know. What's the one that's like the For All the Dogs sketched out? Maybe For All the Dogs is on here. I don't know. What's that called? Huncho? Is it Huncho Jacko? I don't know if that's a pause. Hey, yo. Huncho Jacko Jack Huncho. So that one did not make the top 50. Well, I guess it's not number 50, but we'll see if Travis Scott gets 2 entries, one of them Astroworld Pause and one of them Huncho Jack Huncho. But Cardi B, Invasion of Privacy. So, speaking of which ones to choose from, of course, she just dropped her second album this year, which does, I think, kind of fit that designer, fashion aesthetic that is present in this one. There is, of course, that similar kind of blue color palette as well, too, that keeps these in line. But this is just a nice, I think, put together cover with the highlights being all, the hair matching with the title stuff, and then even the little chair in the background there as well, too. I mean, it is an underrated jacket as well. I don't know if we've seen anybody pay homage to this jacket in the right way, but that might need to happen at some point as well, too. Just all of the offsetting checkered patterns. I know that this might not be a style that you can always, it's not like you can just throw any sort of checkered pattern together and get a good, jumbled mix. If that is if you get what we're saying there. But if you're gonna do like the 3 or 4 different types of the same patterns all mixed up together, this looks good. I don't know how they were able to, mathematically figure out what is the combo there, but iconic for us. So we like the artwork there as well too. Mobb Deep the Infamous. Ooh, again, the album itself, of course, if it was outside the top 45 of anything, would be crazy. The album cover is just a real classic sort of hip-hop aesthetic with the big faces, on the front as well too, but is kind of, of that 2000s 90s run as well too. Like there is a little of that like Denzel movie poster kind of vibe to this album cover, and then just like the little images superimposed over the larger images as well too is definitely a little something of time past that is kind of cool. And you got the group hanging out there. I mean, again, it's just so iconic that it feels low, but I don't know, we'll just have to see if these are crazy. I mean, the score, so immediately just another sort of character forward. The people behind the album featured heavily on the artwork as well too. I mean, definitely more stripped down in terms of what's going on around them as well too. More minimalist, but that iconic sleekness is what I think, and that kind of Godfather aesthetic as well too that is present is definitely very, very classic, very, very sleek. You can't really get much better than that for anything. So shout out, chat, Pink Friday 46, Nicki Minaj. Speaking of standout branding, of course, obviously her whole career, but this series of albums as well too, definitely influential and definitely pretty cool cover as well too. Shout out to Nicki for making the list. 45 Public Enemy, but it's Fear of a Black Planet. So we've got the Outer Space, of course, cover, not the Takes the Nations of Millions cover, which is again actually them on the cover versus this kind of a theme cover as well too, with the characters being on the cover is more in line with what they've had in their list so far. So this is, I guess, in that sense, a little bit more creative because of the fact that, again, it is this kind of spacey stuff here, and you do have a little more sci-fi elements going on, but, and, kind of the Star Wars font stuff, I guess, as well, too, in the mix. But, again, the iconicness of the other cover, if I had to choose one, I'd probably take I think it would take a Nations of Millions. I would take the Nations of Millions cover as well, too, but the fact that they're on the list is great, so shout out. We're not going to complain there as well. A$AP Rocky, though, at 44, his whole aesthetic, of course, from this run, iconic. I think all of his covers are pretty iconic. He needs to unpixelate one of the covers as well, too. He's had that one because of the anniversary pixelated out here. Maybe he's gotten rid of it on... No, he hasn't. Is it going to just be for the year? Or is this just the way it always is now? did he forget to update it? He's forgetting to drop the album and update the artwork on this project? Because, yeah, I don't necessarily want to look at the pixelated version of the cover all the time. Of course, you have him on Live Love ASAP in front of the American flag, and he's kind of blowing the smoke as well, too. But him draped in the flag is pretty iconic, and the TV kind of warping digital stuff going on there is just, just makes for a good image as well, too. Oh, chat, the Roots. Of course, the Roots, I mean, are just great storytellers from start to finish in all their projects. So their ability to just convey that type of emotion in an album cover is fantastic as well, too. I mean, Things Fall Apart is, all of their projects are well regarded. I'm sure this is up there with that. And then what's the other one that I'm thinking of? The Undone? Is that the one that also gets a lot of love as well, too? Oh, Chronology is also obviously pretty good. Oh, yeah, Undone 2011. I think How I Got Over is maybe what I'm thinking of, though. I guess, again, it literally is any Roots project. They are all great game theory as well. So, yeah, I mean, for, again, as artistic and as, I guess emotionally convicting as some of their, a lot of their projects and some of their artwork is as well, too. You imagine that they would have to make a contribution to the list, and this project is definitely a fitting one as well, too. Oh, chat! So they are not against a hand-drawn, poorly sketched out hand-drawn cover. Mac Hominy, Pray for Haiti is at 42, and we see him going crazy here. I mean, obviously, I shouldn't say poorly drawn because it's beautiful modern art, but that kind of, that chaotic style. That make no mistake, somehow, even when, I draw bad, I could admit, I don't know if I could draw a bad fish that looks like that, though. Now that I see how he draws a fish, do I know how to draw fish now? Hey, yo, pause. I don't know. But I think maybe we can make that work. Though there is still skill to... okay, chat, this is just Rem's Irrational Corner as we look at Mac Hominy's album cover. It is what it is. Do we try to just draw it now? Can we just, pull up Canva? It's a computer. It's different. We're actually talking about real artwork skill, right, chat? That's our excuse. But, yeah, maybe that makes up for... Or maybe that makes hope for all the dogs. Nope, Views is going to get on here. Views is at 41. So is Drake going to get multiple? Because you would think that Take Care would be on there as well, too. Or, again, Nothing Is the Same. People love that project in general. I mean, we're not saying we don't love it. I don't know if I would regard it as highly as everybody does, but still. Obviously, there's quality there. But the kid with the head in the clouds type of stuff is, of course, just some iconic iconography as well, if that's the right way to use it. And speaking of Luka torching the Clippers, he's got 17 in the first quarter. Oh, chat, there's going to be an album cover out of this game. It is what it is. James Harden with the step back, the block shot foul on that play, probably not going to be it, but maybe some Luka highlight here is one that gets immortalized in an image forever. So Drake on Views is a great aesthetic for the album as well. If we were going back to that kind of gray, dark, and moody Toronto R&B vibe that is perfect sonically for the album. And I actually think he does do a good job of pairing that branding together. Maybe a little underrated in that aspect, to be honest. There is a vibe that I think fits with the aesthetic of his album, with the sonic of his album. Even lately, some of the sonics have been a little bit more chaotic across the board. I still think that for some reason it just kind of works with the whole vibe that he's putting together. But even Take Care is a little, there's just that kind of a little bit more gold luxury type of vibe at moments on the album, and then kind of the brooding moments. You don't want to say the pouty moments on the album, but again, I think that is a little bit of a different space of the dynamic of those triumphant moments, and then those again kind of moody moments that you're having, and you can kind of see that contrast in the artwork as well too. I mean, the Take Care album cover is iconic, and again feels a little bit more in line of that old school new school kind of crossover. There's a roughness in the aesthetic of that I think gets really regarded highly in a lot of these in a lot of these album cover type rankings, but Views is very, very cool as well too. And then the way Inside the NBA was able to meme that obviously was very funny as well. Oh, the Blueprint chat. Yes, Jay-Z, of course, smoking very cool here on the table. The mafioso gangster persona in full effect as well. So I don't know if this is necessarily better than Reasonable Doubt as well. Maybe they're saying that the Blueprint's a better album than Reasonable Doubt. That you could definitely argue. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's, either way. I don't know if I have an opinion on that one, to be honest. It's pretty close. But the Reasonable Doubt album cover is, again, perfect Jay-Z mafioso persona with the hat and still kind of the mysterious vibe as well too, of not kind of really seeing who the figure is on the front. I mean, you still get a little bit of that here. Again, it's like not a full face reveal for Jay-Z on this album. And just the angle as well too, kind of the overhead angle that we see is just an iconic like view as well. I don't know if that's a pause, but yeah, I think you get what we're saying there. I still, in my mind, though, would probably take the Reasonable Doubt if we had to pick one Jay-Z cover. Though, again, we'll see if they double up here as well. Boogie Down Productions, by all means necessary. Okay, maybe an album that we have to go revisit as well, too. Add this one into the listens list. Will definitely be fun. But, I mean, speaking of hip-hop aesthetics, is definitely iconic old school vibes for sure. Got just the gun right on the cover is, kind of just that fun 90s. Just like guys are just doing whatever they want to, to kind of lean into the rebellious type stuff that is, of course, maybe being associated with some of that stuff as well too. Not to say that you don't get guns on the cover in hip hop these days, but it almost goes the other way where it's like, okay, like, what are we doing? It is almost like how the game just like starts Belly 2 with just like guns superimposed over the opening credits, and it's like, okay, we get it. It's a gangster movie. It is what it is. But for 90s hip hop, for maybe early 2000s, what do we got here? 80s? I don't even know. Boogie Down Production. We'll have to go catch up. But yeah, shout out. I guess iconic right there. Ludacris, Word of Mouth. Shout out for the early Ludacris run that does get, I think, a little bit overlooked these days in terms of just people naming iconic runs in hip hop, and the, of course, distorted effect of this album is pretty fun as well. He was always a little comical with his album covers as well. I don't know them all off the top of the head here. Pause. So let me see if we can pull him up on the Spotify. I guess, yeah, he did have this run here, because Back for the First Time is him kind of having that serious debut, dramatic pose on the front. But Word of Mouth, he's like, nah, screw that. I'll just get the head pause distorted here really big. Chicken and Beer, he's getting ready to take a bite into some, like a fine shin right here. Red Light District, definitely a little bit over the top, hyperbolic with the design. And then Release Therapy is actually, Release Therapy is pretty cool. It's a little simpler. I think there is, again, kind of that mixtape, simpler vibe to Word of Mouth, just in terms of the cover, that is fun for the time that it was dropped. But Release Therapy is cool as well too. Ludacris, the lineup is crisp on Release Therapy, if anything. So, and he has, you can tell this is Ludacris with money. I mean, yeah, if we're just, I guess you can't see if I hold my phone up to the screen, but if we're just comparing lineups, the lineup on Release Therapy to the lineup on Word of Mouth is definitely much different. So, definitely shows the progression right there. And even, he's got braids in Chicken and Beer, but so we got definitely, different hairstyles with braids and Back for the First Time as well too. A hat in Red Light District. So what does he have left, chat? What hairstyle can Ludacris do? Is he gonna drop another album? It's been a decade. Ludaversal in 2015. We might have to revisit that one as well too. I don't know where we put that one on the listen list, but we get a Ludacris. Oh, we get Eclipse. Of course, the Clips album they just had is great as well too, with the designer crossover there, and that kind of leaning into the luxury vibes of the album. But this as an introduction to who they are, the Welcome to Virginia Beach, is great. that whole sound, that whole just, lifestyleistic. I know the gangster coke rap stuff that they were doing was not necessarily new, but again, Pusha T is as descriptive and as real and bringing you onto the streets as anybody that has been there lyrically. So there is just a new world, I guess their world that they were bringing you into there, and that introduction was obviously great. And this cover definitely represents that pretty well. And you got them hanging out in the car, chat, Jesus Christ, in the back seat there. I guess, just hanging out. I don't know if it's, just all having a good time. It is what it is. But Jizza, Liquid Swords, shout out to the Wu-Tang Clan getting on the list. Maybe the most fun Wu-Tang solo album. So we'll see if this gets the best Wu-Tang album artwork. But I can't imagine this is not. Again, if we're just talking fun artwork, they all did a great job of having, to some degree, that cinematic aesthetic in their albums. But this one clearly tops all of them in that aspect. And the artwork definitely leans into that storytelling vibe as well, too. And, with it basically being a comic book on an album, I mean, how is it not just a great comic book cover as well, too? So definitely nailed that one. The Eminem show. Ooh, Eminem with the microphone, the curtain being drawn. I mean, the Eminem show is arguably his most iconic album, but Slim Shady, chat, is pretty fun as well, too. Just that purple vibe with the Slim Shady coloring font that he has at the bottom, which, of course, he did use in the Death of Slim Shady, like, deluxe on he's got it on the white sheet, on the body, on the cart. I guess he's got it a little bit on the other album cover as well, too, where it's like the face out of the body bag. But, yeah, the purple Slim Shady LP cover is, I mean, again, iconic for Eminem and probably our number one Eminem album cover. But for this, I guess they go Eminem show. De La Soul, 3 Feet and Rising, of course, they just had a new album release. Shout out to them. They're getting a little bit of moment. I guess not their moment now, but a re-moment for people to re-recognize how great their career has been, and this new project, and this is just a great fun 80s 90s album aesthetic cover as well too. Whoa, the Straight Outta Compton album cover at 33. I mean, this could be the most iconic album cover in hip hop of all time, so that's clearly too low, and would definitely check off a lot of just, iconic names being on the list as well, too. You don't have to, pick one. You get a group effect there as well in terms of replication and, what the album cover itself meant, again, at the time for hip-hop. I mean, them just even introducing the parent advisory sticker on there was revolutionary as well, too. So just the album, I mean, that is a part of the cover, was something that people were picking up the project for, that that sort of element of the bad boy life, the rebellious whatever, listening to the album. So again, this was definitely a cover that again set the tone for what hip hop would be a little bit in terms of this whole project as well too, in terms of it again being this sort of, I guess, do you want your mom to find the CD type of music? But because I guess, now, and there is videos to some degree as well, too, of I'll pan over during the Super Bowl halftime and here's my family, not enjoying it. But, it's the most viewed Super Bowl halftime of all time. So, at the end of the day, everybody is, of course, enjoying, hip hop. Everybody you go to a wedding, if you, I guess if it's a good music at a wedding, you're just dancing to rap music at this point. It is what it is. But NWA, of course, back then, and what the vibe was of the of the movement, in its early days was, I mean, again, this is basically the cover that you could argue, I guess maybe I'm not the guy to sit here and say, but this is the cover that you could almost argue just, basically started it as well too, or really brought it into the mainstream in a major way. But, I guess there are, I mean, I can think of right off the top of my head 32 album covers that, whoa, so yeah, it's a good thing it is at 33, right? Hey, yo. But hey, I guess we'll give Bill. Are we gonna give Bill Baby Keem at 32? You know, at the end of the day, somebody else made their list. You know, we just want to see the ones that are on it more than the actual rankings, because we know that we're gonna disagree with it. So it's like, okay, if we disagree with it a lot or a little, I guess it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, I guess again, we just want to see what they chose. You know, what's their taste is really, I guess, pause. Well, hey, yo, we might have to just end the live stream at this point. Sorry, chat, we can't go through the other 30 albums. It is what it is. We just got put in timeout. YouTube just told us we had to go. Oh, man, that's brutal. We're just going to move on. Pray for Paris. West Side Gun with the artwork. Albums have always been really great and beautiful. It is what it is. Shout out. Ooh, the ID from Old Dirty Bastard McLovin, Chad himself. Has the Old Dirty Bastard ID? It hasn't really gotten the same sort of buzz as the McLovin ID, but maybe there is a secret world. Not a secret world, but I'm sure if somebody has the, well, I was gonna say if somebody has the 36 chambers, like, because there is that iconic McLovin flag. I was gonna say, if you have the 36 chambers flag, you're cooler than anybody that has the McLovin flag. But literally everybody has the McLovin flag, and everybody that is cool has that McLovin flag. So, you know, that's wrong. But you would also be cool if, I guess, you had the 36 chambers flag as well too. So maybe we just need to get that ourselves and start that. Should we look that up here real quick? Let's see. 36. Oh wait. Oh, let's go. ODB 36 chambers album. I don't know why I couldn't spell that there for a second. Album cover with a 34. Whoa. Album cover flag. And let's see what we get here. Maybe I mean, come on, Amazon. What are we doing? This has got to exist. Okay, that's not looking promising. And shopping is not even an option on the Google search. So that is not good. Okay, we can get the album on vinyl for $60, $35, or $41, but that's literally it. Hey, yo. Okay, so can we go ODB 36 chambers album cover poster, maybe? There has to be something. Or just an ODB poster, honestly. Could be. Oh, or we could just buy this double poster vinyl for $325. Okay, chat. Something's going on here on the ODB on the merch market. I don't know. Maybe we print these off ourselves. I don't know, chat. Maybe we have to cut this out. This is a business idea. But yeah, either way, the ID use there, in the culture is got to be top two. McLovin and ODB. Shout out. So Raekwon with the Only Built for Cuban Links, I guess, as technically a solo Wu-Tang album. They do have that over Liquid Swords, though. Yeah, I think Liquid Swords is better. I mean, it's cool. They're kind of on fire, the orange vibes. Again, the guy's just looking cool in a 2000s album kind of way. But what do you say? The comic book iconography of the album is unique enough for that Liquid Swords project for it to be, I think, standard enough on its own. Ice Cube, shout out. Death Certificate. I mean, that initial project as well too, America's Most Wanted, is iconic for, again, kind of the debut status. But this, I think, was, up there with it. This was probably, along his most controversial album covers, as some of them were. So, you can't necessarily go wrong with Ice Cube. But again, Ice Cube, I guess, might be an underrated album cover hip hop guy, because if you're going to give him credit for NWA as well too, I mean, just his entire run with that group and then his solo run there, really at the peak of his powers in those 90s era, that's some really iconic, really great, he's got thought-provoking political album covers, and then great projects to go along with it as well too. So I don't know, we might have to do a little list, and maybe Ice Cube is the #1 album cover guy in hip hop. I'm not sure, but Lil Wayne, the Carter 3, of course, classic Lil Wayne child with the tattoo on the face look, has been used on several album covers, but the 3 is with the the blacked out background is iconic stuff. Keeps it simple, keeps it sleek. Black on both sides. Also very, simple, of course, but I mean, in some ways unique. I guess, who would have the confidence enough to just have him take a picture like this high quality and this just, close up to somebody? But I mean, most Defs, obviously. I mean, as you see him immortalized here on the album cover, I guess totally worth the picture. Shout out. Obviously a very charming, handsome guy, so I guess he gets away with it. But I don't think I would have I would not at all have this as the idea of an album cover. This is too intense of a picture of, to see of yourself. It is what it is. But again, for Mos Def, he unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, is able to get it to work. Unfortunately, if it was us, because we'd be like, oh, well, now that picture of us exists in that type of high def. But yeah, Mos Def, chat. Mos Def, I guess, literally refers to the definition of the picture on the album cover, because they were locked in back in the day. It is what it is. Oh, Ice-T. Oh, chat, this one might be number 2, honestly. Hey, yo. Shout out Ice-T. I mean, he knew how to make an album cover. What's this guy doing on the album cover? He doesn't need 2 bodyguards? What's going on here? Ice-T. I don't think he's protected enough. Pause. Whoa, wait, yo. Rakim. Eric B. and Rakim. Follow the leader. So, I mean, clearly Billboard is going to be controversial. I get maybe also we don't, like, we go one way. We say everybody's debut album's their best album cover. Billboard, I don't think, has picked a debut album yet. So it's like, okay, nobody's debut album has been their best album cover. Like, Eric B. and Rakim as well, too, has not, what is even the name of the first album now? I'm not even going to remember it. But the green one, shout out. Paid in Full, chat. Hey, yo. We should have gotten that way sooner. But, like, Paid in Full's not better than Follow the Leader with the money in the background? I don't know. You do have the Paid in Full kind of, stapled across there, and it is a little invisible in the red font, but I don't know. Maybe it doesn't need to be, like, totally super standout-ish as well, too. You do have the Follow the Leader a little more seamlessly integrated there. Of course, the good style as well, too. Kind of the tilted picture offset in the album cover is a fun look as well. So it is close, but again, it's just iconic, that Paid in Full cover. Ooh, Wu-Tang. I mean, Wu-Tang as well. This might be another top 10 album cover of all time. Hey, yo. I mean, this is iconic, groundbreaking group New York hip hop, of course. So I don't know how we can just have this sitting at 23, but regardless, we'll see if any of the members themselves, I guess, actually jump the group, because 3 Wu-Tang members, I guess 4. We're not considering ODB, I guess, shout out. But 4 Wu-Tang albums now in top 50 is really building up those. Kool Keith, shout out the early days of hip hop, the bright, colorful, I don't even know what are we in here, the 70s? I don't even know what years Kool Keith was active. I mean, Kool Keith, I guess, was active all the years. Shout out. Again, speaking of a guy that knew how to make an album cover. I think maybe we know the secret to album covers. Kool Keith often said that he was going for on this album was porncore. Whoa! Hey, yo, chat. I mean, I guess in that sense, keeping it toned down a little bit on the album, but on the album cover. But I guess maybe for the 70s, this was considered that. I'm not sure. But Redman, There Is a Dark Side. So immediately another Wu-Tang album. I mean, Wu-Tang, much loved. This is ranking every album and album covers to make up a top 50 list, because there's not 50 Wu-Tang albums is the name of the list, I think. So Redman is 21 with the pause, the head in the ground, yelling, dark red situation in the back. The DS2 album cover is an interesting one because it is a stock photo, but it is iconic, and because there is that syrupy vibe to the album, and that kind of color is in a way present in what he is rapping about. It does also fit the aesthetic of the album. You get the future DS2 little logo in the top, and I really do love the album cover. I really love the album as well, too, so it obviously is connected with that. But, I mean, it is, again, it's just a stock photo, so it's clearly the lamest, photo of any of these, but up there with the most iconic, so I don't know how that works. Oh, chat, The Chronic at 19. Hey, so another one. I mean, you can kind of tell obviously what a person actually thinks the list should be by, again, the level of their reactions and stuff. So I think, if we've tracked our own reactions, I think it's basically just Dr. Dre and Ice Cube make the best album covers of all time, because I guess, again, you could also put 2001 up there as well too. I mean, in a sense as well too, we're also talking about, again, like the real most iconic starting point hip hop, really going back to the, you know just in terms of time spent, like what has even been around the longest at this point as well too. Like, I mean, the Chronic is getting in the early days. I mean, again, NWA is getting in the early days, so that stuff is beloved and generationally familiar. Like the Chronic is generationally familiar in a way that I guess that being one spot in front of DS2, like there's no way that, I guess in the family Thanksgiving that we're about to go to, like what percentage of people at the family Thanksgiving know the DS2? I guess, for our family, it is what it is. But the DS2 album cover versus the Chronic album cover. Like everybody's seen the Chronic album cover. It's crazy. So I think the Fugees album cover should be probably higher as well too. So that is also us kind of ranking like best-selling albums as well. I think the Fugees album is up there for best-selling hip-hop albums, of course, all time. But yeah, that could also be a top 10er for sure. So Jay-Z, Kanye West, Watch the Throne. Again, another example of an album cover that I don't know if enough people are going to know it compared to the Chronic. So again, we're not going to say, it's their own list. We'll let them cook. But like DS2, so they're really a fan of kind of that 2010 to 2015 aesthetic, because again, it's that luxury gold cover. It is cool. Maybe it's cooler if you actually have like the vinyl, or if the vinyl was textured as well too. I think you have to have a textured vinyl for this to be like a textured album cover, for this to actually be a good album cover. Otherwise, I think the effect of the design is kind of lost on the fact that, again, it is just kind of a quote-unquote simple photo. Like, this also has stock photo vibes to it. It is what it is. The luxury album, it's a perfect kind of luxury throne gold king album. But, again, I think the next level would be that kind of, embossing. Is that the right way to say it? I'm not sure. But that would be awesome. Whoa! Speaking of the 20 teens, chat, Playboy Cardi Die Lit at number 17. I mean, really for no reason. I would say, and maybe the Whole Lot of Red is kind of his Chronic styled album cover as well too, with it being kind of that, a lot of blank space, simple image of the artist, keeping it a little bit minimal there, and still kind of presenting a color scheme as well too. But you do have kind of that full album image, which is a great aesthetic as well too. And then, I don't know if this is the right way to phrase it, but there is like a chaos image album cover thing that really works. And you can get, of course, into sort of the scratched up album cover looks of, like, again, like Pusha T on Daytona, or It's Almost Dry, or Lil Uzi Vert, with the Love is Rage album cover is a little bit like that as well too. Love is Rage 2. Like, there is a chaos aesthetic that is going on there, and the Playboy Cardi album definitely does here. I'm looking at the Love is Rage album cover right now, and yeah, I do like the Love is Rage one, so we'll see. Is that going to be in the top 10? Probably not over the Chronic, but yeah, you get the photo here is, probably Playboy Cardi's best project as well too, though. Who knows? I'm just throwing that out there. I'll probably change my mind and not agree with that tomorrow. But Juvenile, 400 Degrees, is continuing to get love amongst the publications. You love to see it. I think Juvenile in general is, again, you see a lot of people now pointing back to him as a really influential person, in this album, being a really influential album of the time. And I don't know if it's being bumped in the same type of way, but again, there is a definite effort to remember what this project is. So you love to see it. And the flashy aesthetic of this album cover as well too is, again, definitely iconic. Like, you can just tell by a glance, again, this is 400 Degrees just by looking at it barely. If you saw it out of the corner of your eye, you knew exactly what album it is. But Doggy Style at the 15, making up for the fact that this album was like 100 on the Pitchfork rankings. This is getting close to the most accurate ranking we've gotten so far. I think, again, this might be a top 10 album cover of all time as well, too. So I don't know, is there an album that was dropped in the top, or, in the last 10 years, last 20 years, that is in the top 10? I don't know. The answer, I guess, is always going to be Good Kid, Mad City. It is what it is. Ghetto Boys, We Can't Be Stopped, of course, 14. I mean, I guess there's got to be a point in the list where you can't mess this up as well, too. Like, what is going to be the insane pull into the top 15 as well would have to be the thing. Midnight Marauders for Tribe Called Quest. Over the Low End Theory, you've got that kind of character playing an aesthetic on all of on multiple of these albums as well. So there is a similarity here, even into the People's Instinct as well too. But Low End Theory, with it being an iconic project, maybe a little bit more so. I don't know if we credit the cover in that way. And I don't know if this is intentional, but there is some pause here, with the hand motions. So I don't know if that plays into it as well too. And it is just a little sleeker, the Low End Theory cover. I do like the way the album title is along the spine on the Low End Theory is a nice touch compared to, even it just being like, this does feel a little bit more like the intro to a TV show versus the Low End Theory actually does feel like the album cover. But both of them are actually good as well too, though. So you can't be mad. Illmatic at 12. Ooh, so another one that probably you move up a couple spots. Just get that in the top 10. Lock that in. The New York life that is brought, on the audio waveforms to life here is also, you can see, captured on the album. He went for this look on a couple different albums, so he did make it a little bit iconic for him as well too, which is good in a way. But I mean, yeah, nothing is going to get past, really, again, anything that he created with this Illmatic. Just the whole aesthetic and everything that was brought to life here is basically perfect. Oh, Mad Villainy, of course, is going to be a good pull. MF Doom in his mask, rest in peace. You got, I guess, the little orange block in the corner somehow works, providing something to this album cover. So kind of simple, but still an iconic artwork. Oh, To Pimp a Butterfly. We said Good Kid, Mad City because that's, of course, just the project in general that we go to. But again, in terms of storytelling in a picture, and not to say that Good Kid, Mad City isn't that, but also is able to capture that in To Pimp a Butterfly as well too. The black and white aesthetic playing to the jazz vibes of the album, I think, is really perfect as well. So he nailed that. Get Rich, Die Trying. Now we're cooking, Chad. Now we're cooking. I mean, you can see how stacked, of course, it is as we get toward the top of the list here as well. But yes, this is absolutely appropriate. The bullet holes, of course, over the cross on the chain. I mean, 50 Cent just at the peak of his power. I mean, 350 Cent. Who can beat 350 Cent? I mean, we already know the answer to that. Literally nobody. And you can see why. I mean, absolute stud. I mean, still is, of course. Just the 03 variant of 50 was a pretty crazy model. That is for sure. But, yeah, the album cover is right up there with the greats. Oh, Jeffrey, of course. Trend, I don't know if trend setting is the right word, but, groundbreaking and very, unique, of course, as well, too, for really any period of hip-hop. But still really one of the go-to aesthetics and looks of just any sort of 2000s. I mean, because Young Thug, of course, is so influential in 2010's trap that himself as an artist, of course, is going to be brought up when you're just talking about that time period of music. But again, this look for him is so iconic. And I don't know enough about, his moves and his looks off the court to know, off the mic, I guess, off the album covers, to know if this is an aesthetic he leaned into in like press and things like that. But, again, if you're just thinking of Young Thug, this is, a silhouette that, of course, is very iconic to him and has lived on outside of just the music as well, too. So this being in the top 10, again, just because of time spent, of some of these albums. Like, again, Illmatic was dropped in 94. It's been around for 30 plus years. Like, not to say that Jeffrey isn't as, you know, wave making, and also, again, Illmatic versus Jeffrey the music. Like, Jeffrey is a great project, shout out, but it's still not Illmatic from a musical standpoint. But, you know, and it's only a couple spots off. I'm not saying, you know, move it way down. I'm just saying that maybe we would lean a little bit more for the older album covers in the top 10. I mean, see, like an album cover like 2 Live Crew. This is a top 10 album cover right here, chat. And I don't know if somebody needs to sample this album cover for 2026, but I say if we want to bring commercial hip hop back, let's just rerun this 2 Live Crew album cover. I guess, do we even have rap groups in 2025 like we do? I don't know, Jack Boys 3, chat? You know, I guess Jack Boys 4, this would be perfect, because then you could have 4 models on the album cover for the 4th album. But, oh, chat, see, we're creative directors now. It is what it is. But maybe this is a look that should be considered for anybody's 2026 album. Who's on the docket? Do we have a album cover already for Don't Be Dumb? Can we get like an alternate deluxe version? I'm not sure. The Fenty version of the Don't Be Dumb album? Maybe that's the next Rihanna album. I'm not sure. Ooh, Don Killuminati. So, speaking of great album covers, I mean, Biggie did have 2 really, really iconic, I mean, 2 really iconic album covers. And we'll see. I mean, there's a chance that we're already at number 6. We haven't seen Biggie. There's a chance that Ready to Die is honestly number 1. I mean, as I say that, they'll probably just have it number 5 because everything's too low. It is what it is. But Machiavelli, the alternate personality, goes with the number 1. Of course, definitely his most, you know, out there image. Definitely going for it the most on this one. Even though, you know, he makes sure to pay the proper respects on the album cover as well, too. The All Eyes on Me one is just so freaking iconic that I don't know how that is not a top 25 album cover, or top 50, top 10, you know, album cover of all time. Even Me Against the World, I think you could make a case for Don Killuminati against Me Against the World. You know, I guess, what's the Are You Still Down? That one's not iconic as well, too. I don't know. Even the one Until, what's the one that Kendrick just sampled off of? Until the End of Time is like an iconic Tupac image, I think, as well. I mean, Tupac, of course, one of the most famous people. So, also, I mean, Strictly, chat. Strictly 4 is definitely a, well, I don't know if that's an iconic cover, but it's cool. But I mean, All Eyes on Me being one of the best-selling album covers of all time. I mean, people are recreating that image all the time. So, I don't know how people aren't paying respects to that as well. I mean, again, oh yeah, literally, again, Ready to Die was next. Shout out. So, Biggie, between the pound for pound, like, he could have 2 of the top 10 hip-hop album covers of all time with Ready to Die and Life After Death. I mean, of course, he could have 2 of the top 10 hip-hop albums of all time with that list. But, you know, unfortunately, R.I.P., those were the albums that I guess, fortunately, they were the albums that we got. So, we should say it that way. We got 2 great albums from Biggie, and, you know, how many great people did we never get 2 great albums from, I guess, is, you know, what we should be focused on. But we've only got 4 more better than this. So this is, again, getting close. Dark Twisted Fantasy. I guess, speaking of newer album covers, how could we forget this one? How could we forget? I mean, we were talking about, I guess this just shows you where we're at in 2025. And I guess shout out that in some ways we still are able to recognize a discography that is still, you know, from a quality standpoint, one of the best discographies in hip hop history. But, you know, again, maybe it wasn't the first thing that we were thinking of. It hasn't necessarily been something we've been queuing up in the rotation in the same way. But yeah, in terms of hip hop album covers, I mean, you know, especially for the 21st century, he's got to be the best. You know, well, I guess this is a good one as well, too, because you do get a little storytelling in the mix. You know, I don't know how much necessarily storytelling he's doing in the album covers and like that original trilogy, but the aesthetic and the vibe of those first 3 are just so cool and, again, so iconic and so influential for what he was bringing to music back then that they just really live on and are really, really cool. And that Graduation cover is just great as well, too. So, you know, he definitely has to be mentioned, but I mean, Dark Twisted Fantasy is the critical darling, so you know that people are going to bring that one up as well. And just again, in terms of aesthetic, it is right up there. DMX, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. Shout out DMX. I guess I would not have expected them to put him at number 3 on the list. Shout out. So This is where Juvenile was at on the best hip hop albums list as well too. So this is the spot, I guess, for Agent of Chaos pick, and to have, I guess, DMX as the Agent of Chaos this time is pretty appropriate. You know, of course, him covered in blood is, I'm sure, I'm sure had parents all over the place freaking out. But yeah, shout out, of course, to the great year that he had that year as well too, if not one of the best years that a rapper has ever had. Outkast with Stankonia at number 2. I was gonna say we haven't gotten an Outkast yet on this list, so they clock in at number 2. Stankonia would be right. I think Speakerbox Love Below is pretty cool for sure. I mean, all their album covers are cool. Aquemini is pretty cool for sure. But Stankonia did move a lot of units, that's for sure. Though I think Speakerbox is their best selling, but then again, Stankonia is more them as actually a group together. So you kind of think about, that being kind of their last group project in a way. And it is iconic in that way. Lil Kim Hardcore, number 1 overall. Ooh, even if Hardcore was stripped of classics like Big Mama Thang and Crush on You, Lil Kim's debut would still be one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time for its cover art alone. Shot by Michael Levin, who has also captured Kim's iconic front-facing squat image, Hardcore finds Grammy-winning rapper seductively posing on a polar bear rug as she spots a lacy lingerie-invoking outfit, while the surrounding roses and champagne offering a soft contrast to the polar bear's barred teeth. Kim glances aggressively, sexually. Kim balances aggressive sexuality and reticent something allure. We got to do the Kevin Garnett equivalent. Was his equivalent? I don't even know what the word he says is, but reticent allure, grounding both in the power of the divine feminine. Kim simultaneously plays into the sex-stained gaze of the male-dominant hip-hop industry while flipping the aesthetic on their head. She's on top and the one in control. If challenging power is a core tenet of hip-hop, few covers encapsulated that as stylishly as Hardcore. So, hey, yo, shout out to Lil Kim with the best album cover of all time. I guess I didn't necessarily expect that, but hey, yo, you never know when the writer of one of these lists is going to be really horny, chat. So I guess Lil Kim's number 1 today. We'll see if tomorrow maybe, ask him in a couple. He's like, okay, wait, were you in the bathroom for a while? Oh, wait a second. We got Stankonia's number 1 now. What happened there? But yeah, I guess Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is kind of a sexy album as well, too. 2 Live Crew. Nasty, 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 chat. I guess, what was the name of the album? We might have, this one might be the gym album tomorrow, to be honest. As nasty as they want to be, 2 Live Crew. I'm trying to think. There was a 2 Live Crew song that we were listening for some reason. Maybe it was on in a movie or something. Is this album even on Spotify? Oh, wait a second. Is this album not on Spotify? Why wouldn't it be on Spotify? Oh, chat, what's going on there? It's a YouTube album experience tomorrow at the gym. Okay, not what we were expecting. I guess we're going to be... Oh, wait, live in concert? What's nasty as they want to be? No. I think live... This album has a similar aesthetic in terms of this part, the 2 Live Crew on like a pause on top. But I guess this is not the album. So I don't know. We'll track down the album cover and see what's going on. But shout out to Lil Kim. And shout out to you guys, of course, for jumping on with us. We thank you, of course, for joining us this year, joining us, in the past years as well, too, for looking forward to 2026 with us as well. I know we still are, of course, the holiday season is approaching. We are entering the end of 2025 and counting down the days for the next year. But, just to get a head start on the thankfulness anyways. Hey, yo, of course, we are thankful for everybody that has tuned in over the course and for jumping on with us. I mean, we're thankful for Sam as well, too. Obviously, not just a fun guy to talk to on a pod, but a great friend in real life as well. And, the best part about the pod has been meeting and connecting with, all the people as well. That was one of the best parts about going to the wedding was just being like, oh, yeah. Sometimes you just got your head down work and pause, and you just, hey, yeah, well, you forget about, maybe that's just a moment in a, well, I guess now, what do we, REM reflection corner at the end. but just being like, hey, pay attention to those types of moments and the people that you do meet along the way as well too, because you don't kind of realize how they stack up on top of each other, and you're like, oh yeah, I do know you, I do know you, I do know you. Oh yeah, what's up? Hey, how's it going? Shout out. So just a time to be thankful, and hopefully we're thankful here always on the REMINGTOM pod, of course. But since we're being forced to be thankful, no, of course, but since it is a time of year to be thankful, it is a time we will take, I guess, now to spend a couple extra seconds and just say that. So we, of course, I guess, in addition to that, hope you tune in Friday as well too, because we'll be back, the Black Friday show. It'll be discounted for free here on the YouTube, and discounted for free over on Spotify and Instagram, Spotify, Apple, all the different podcast platforms. And of course, Instagram is where you can DM us if you want to send us a message and connect with us over there. Otherwise, go enjoy your Thanksgiving. Eat enough to get out of that food coma in time for the Friday live stream. And otherwise, just have a good time with your families. Eat a lot of food. Don't overcook anything. Don't undercook anything. Hey, tune into the meal prep saga from the Sunday live stream, I think, is when we were talking about that. But, like I said, thank you guys for jumping on with us. We'll see y'all Friday. Sunday, Tuesday, Friday is the schedule. So one more day this week for that Friday, and then we'll be back Sunday for NFL Week 13. And I guess with the NFL this week, it'll be, I guess Friday, we might have an NFL game. Hey, who knows? Just check the schedule, chat. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Something fun. Can't wait to see y'all.